might have to have somebody.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the recommending meeting to order. Are we in compliance with the open meeting law?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you for that. Everyone, if you'll please take your seat. I know that there's a lot of people that would like to be heard today on a variety of items that's before the recommending committee. So if you will please bear with us just momentarily, we'll get the meeting underway immediately. Okay, I will be going out of order on our agenda items today. The first line item of business will be Bill number 2017-23 for possible action. This is an ordinance creating City of Las Vegas Special Improvement District number 813, Summerlin Village 26. This is in Ward 4, Councilman Anthony. This is proposed by David Bowers. Staff? Oh. I'm sorry. David, why didn't you say anything?
I'm sorry,
you were
I thought
sitting
you
right
were
there when I saw you the
over there.
first time. Okay, go ahead, please, sir.
Good morning, Chairman. My
morning.
name is David Bowers, Director of Public Works, and this is a standard SID item. We actually have two items. The first one that we're talking about, Bill number 2017-23, basically allows the City of Las Vegas to create the Special Improvement District number 813, which is Summerlin Village number 26 for the developer Pulte Homes.
Okay. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item? If so, please come forward and state your name for the record. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Is there a motion on the item or any questions?
Move for approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Bill number 2017-24, possible action. This is an ordinance concerning the City of Las Vegas Special Improvement District number 813, Summerlin Village 26, Ward 4, Councilman Anthony, and assessing the cost of local improvements against the assessable property benefited by the local improvement. Staff?
Thank you, Chairman. Again, my name is David Bowers, Director of Public Works for the City of Las Vegas. And Bill number 2017-24, as you indicated, basically allows the City of Las Vegas to assess the total cost of the local improvements against the assessable property value benefited by the local improvements. In general, we have about $11.4 million improvements, and it's for construction of infrastructure and roadways.
Okay. Public comment is open. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item? If so, please come forward and state your name for the record. Seeing none, public comment is closed.
Move for approval.
There's a motion on the floor for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Just for the record, on bill number 2017-23, this item will be heard at the City Council meeting on June 21st, as well as bill number 2017-24. This will be heard at the City Council meeting on June 21st as well.
Thank you, Chairman.
Next line item is bill number 2017-25 for possible action. Ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale by the City of Las Vegas Special Improvement District number 813, Summerlin Village 26, local improvement bond, series 2017, approving the form of certain documents with respect to such bonds and ratifying action taken by the city officers toward the issuance of such bonds. This is proposed by Vanetta Appleyard. Vanetta?
Good morning, Vanetta Appleyard, Director of Finance for the City of Las Vegas. As David mentioned, the previous two items were to introduce the assessments. This is the item will allow us to borrow funds in order to pay for those assessments. It's $11.4 million, and there are approximately 655 single-family units and one multifamily unit, so that'll equate to about $15,000 per parcel in assessments. We anticipate selling these bonds at the latter part of July.
Okay. Public comment is open. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item? So please come forward and state your name for the record. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Is there a motion on the item?
Move for approval.
All in favor? There's a motion for approval. Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you so very much. Okay, now we'll move to Bill number 2017-16 for possible action. This amends the city licensing and zoning regulations to delete categories for bed and breakfast, inn and boarding or rooming house, and to revise regulations and requirements pertaining to short-term residential rentals. This is sponsored by Councilwoman Lois Tarkanian, and also this bill is being co-sponsored by Councilman Bob Beers. Oh, is Brad here? Okay, I apologize, Brad. I meant to get to your item before we move this. I'm going to hold off on 2017-16. I'm going to go ahead and go with Bill number 2017-26. This is possible action, readopts the Las Vegas Municipal Code to make state misdemeanors, city misdemeanors, if committed within the city of Las Vegas. Brad Jerbick, if you will, please.
I'm here, Councilman. This bill was set for public hearing today at recommending committee at the last city council meeting. Unfortunately, I was in Badlands negotiations at the time and I wasn't here. If I had been, I would have recommended that it be sent to the council as a whole 2 days from now, because the development agreement itself is going to be on for discussion, and depending on how the council votes, this bill might not even be necessary. This will only be necessary if the council adopts the development agreement on
Well,
Wednesday's meeting.
hold on one second, Brad. We're talking about number 7, your misdemeanors, state misdemeanors. Number seven, you sponsored number 7, Brad. State misdemeanors.
This is routine, it's an order, and I recommend that you pass it with a due
Thank you,
pass.
Brad. There's a motion on the floor for approval, but before so, I would like to open up public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, public comment is closed. There's a motion for approval on the floor. Thanks, Brad.
Move for approval.
All in favor? Aye. Aye, so moved. Okay, now we're moving to item number 3. Okay. Yeah. Okay, bill number 2017-16 for possible action amends the City of Las Vegas licensing and zoning regulations to delete categories for bed and breakfast, inn and boarding or room housing, and the revised regulations and requirements pertaining to short-term residential rentals. This is sponsored by Lois Tarkanian as well as Bob Beers. The floor is open now for staff to provide their presentation.
Good morning. For the record, Mary McElhone, Business Licensing Manager. This ordinance proposal amends the short-term rental regulations for both land use approval and licensing to address several items. Since recommending committee on May 15th, there have been some new changes and there is now a First Amendment. So I'll go through what the bill does change, and then anything that was changed since the original draft, I'll highlight those items. So right now with this new First Amendment, an SUP, a special use permit, is required for all residential units. And there is one exception to that. No special use permit will be required for owner-occupied rental units of 3 bedrooms or less and not within 660 feet of another short-term rental. In the original draft, this was 2 bedrooms. It has now been changed to 3 bedrooms. And I should also point out, because I think there's some confusion, that there is no requirement that a short-term rental be owner-occupied, meaning the owner does not have to be on site when the unit is being occupied. The additional changes that this ordinance will do is include some additional restrictions. There's not to be any renting of accessory structures such as mobile units, casitas, trailers, for example. The business license number must be on all advertisements. Must also list the license application hosting platform where units will be advertised. Proof of liability, insurance coverage, and a minimum amount of $500,000 is required. and an affidavit attesting that there are no delinquent room tax liabilities or liens regarding the property to be used as a short-term rental. A placard shall also be displayed on the exterior of all short-term rental units only when it is occupied, and it must list the allowable occupancy and 24-hour contact information for complaints. And also in this proposed First Amendment changes, there are some differences. There is an exemption now for short-term rentals from the public or any registry requirement. We've changed the maximum occupancy from 2 adults to 2 adults over 12 years of age, but it may not exceed Title 16's Uniform Housing Code limits. We've also removed the on-site staff requirement for 6 bedrooms or more. There is now a new requirement in this First Amendment. It requires 24-hour licensed security company for 6 bedrooms or more to respond to complaints. Another new change is that the tenant cannot be a short-term rental license holder. The owner of the actual property must be the holder of the license. We've also changed the director's ability to suspend or revoke a license from 3 offenses to now 2 offenses. So now it's a 2 strikes and you're out rule, and this is within a 24-month period. We've also extended the time frame for compliance from 1 year to 2 years. This bill also allows short-term rentals in mixed-use developments, and it should also be noted that in Section 1 and Section 2 of this bill, rooming house and bed and breakfast are removed from the hotel portion of Title VI. Additionally, there's an increase in parking requirements for rentals with 5 bedrooms or more. There will be 1 additional space for every 2 additional bedrooms allowed. And those are the changes for this amendment.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Okay, at this time, I would like to set some ground rules because we have so many people here that have signed up to speak before us today. And I understand at the previous recommending meeting where I was absent, there were a number of people that did not have an opportunity to speak. And so therefore, I do have your speaker card, and I will be calling these names in the order that I have received them. And so as I prepare to open up public comment, I'm going to allow for 1 minute each person to speak. And the first person I have here will be Donald Mosley. Is Mr. Mosley here? And if the clerk will please set the time to 1 minute, and if you go over your 1 minute, I will kindly ask that you wrap it up. Judge, good to see you.
Good morning, gentlemen. I apologize. I'm going to have to leave after I speak, and so I won't be here to hear other comments, but you're going to hear quite a number of, I think, comments and a lot of conversation in the next hour or so, both pro and con on this issue. But let me suggest that in the final analysis, when it's all said and done, this is a struggle between the sanctity of a neighborhood and commercial interests. It's just that simple. And I come out in favor of the neighborhood, of course. I have yet to hear a cogent, reasonable argument by anyone that cares anything about neighborhoods as to why this kind of thing should be allowed. We hear arguments that, well, a person owns some property, can do anything they want to with their own property. If that was true, we wouldn't have any zoning regulations. You could just do anything you wanted to. So I don't think that carries much weight. I'm in favor of this ordinance, but I have to recognize, and I think we all recognize, that this is a compromise. Short-term rental should not be allowed in a neighborhood, period, in my judgment. Anytime there's a compromise with a zoning question or something of this nature, the neighborhood cannot win. It's just how much is the neighborhood going to lose?
I have to ask you to
There's no winning here.
start to wrap it for me, please.
I'm sorry?
Your 1 minute.
Am I time up?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm against the short-term rental thing, and I'd like to see you pass this ordinance.
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate it. Thank you. it looks like S.P. Grogan. Next will be Mark Scott and Eileen Cohen, in that order. 1 minute, please.
I'm Stephen Grogan, 2121 Silver Avenue. I'm asking the council to pass this bill forward to the full council, so there is an accountability of the full council voting on this, because as the previous speaker mentioned, this is a battle between commercial interests and the sanctity and the survival of single-family residential neighborhoods. Let us just put this in black and white. This is basically neighborhoods who are trying to save themselves and having privacy and having single-family people living in their neighborhoods in the quiet and peace versus people who frankly are greedy. And that's what it boils down to. I hope the council also isn't overwhelmed by deep-pocketed lobbyists who try to make points about commercial interests, because this is not what it's about. We have over 400 illegal operations in the city of Las Vegas, and they need to be dealt with. Last year there were 10 licensed facilities, and now there are 150, and it's growing constantly. We have no voice in being able to stop these except your voice. Thank you.
Mr. Grogan. Thank you, sir. Mr. Scott.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is my wife, Ellen Scott. We live at 1508 Kirkland Avenue. This really isn't a complicated issue. It is a standard zoning issue, plain and simple. Although websites like VRBO and Airbnb made it easier for people to use their properties in a non-conforming manner, they certainly did not make it legal to do so. A website cannot change laws. A phone app cannot change an ordinance. These companies did not change what R1 or RE zoning has meant for decades in this city. So let's remove these confusing elements from the discussion and ask ourselves a few simple questions. How would something like a motel in an R1 neighborhood not require an SUP at a minimum? How would something like a boarding house in an established neighborhood not require an SUP at a minimum? Residential zoning was never intended for transient occupancy and all that goes with it. Any argument to the contrary is disingenuous and self-serving. Let's make it clear. The STR industry is against this bill because they want to continue to use residential properties in a commercial manner without the input of the neighborhood residents, the advice from planning, and the deliberation of city council, and that is unconscionable in my opinion. This bill is the right action at the right time, and if we wait any longer, irreparable damage will be done to many of our most established neighborhoods, which are also crucial to the downtown redevelopment. But don't take my word for it. Take the cities. The Vision 2045 Downtown Master Plan.
Sir, I have to start to ask you to wrap up, but what you can do is submit what you have in writing to the clerk, and it'll most definitely be on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Hi, 1 minute, please, Ms. Cola.
Good morning. My name is Aileen Cohen. I live at 2904 Mason Avenue. I have done so since 2003. I am also a 44-year resident of this valley. I am very happy with the information that the prior speakers have provided. I will try and not repeat what they've said.
Thank you.
My concerns are the ability and the enforceability not only of zoning, but of the management provisions themselves that are put forth by the STR platforms. I believe, is this the camera right here? Did I get the information? I have a couple of exhibits.
Do we have the overhead?
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
If you can see right here, there is a printout from the property that is right next door to mine at 2900 Mason Avenue. It's listed on VRBO and Airbnb. It says no parties and events allowed, maximum occupancy of 12. By the way, it also says minimum age of primary renter 18. If you will see here, on 2 weekends ago, I believe it was the weekend of the 9th, there was a party. It was very well attended. There is a vehicle that is blocking the sidewalk, and I have another picture that shows several other vehicles, including that vehicle, parking in the sidewalk. And I noticed in the backyard that there was a very large subwoofer speaker sitting in the corner of the property, blasting music till about 9, 10 o'clock at night. That is in contrast to the bill itself.
Okay, and I have to ask you to wrap up at that point, and what you can do is submit your items to the clerk for that it may be placed on the record at this time.
And I will very much do that. I would just like to stress that the ability not only to enforce, but also for people who do not live in this jurisdiction. And the enforceability provisions are not just against the owners themselves, but Airbnb and VRBO put it against the renters themselves. They don't live here. We do not extradite for misdemeanors.
Thank you,
We don't
ma'am.
extradite for other things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time. And you may submit your documents.
Thank you.
The clerk to your left. Thank you. It looks like Janelle Mazza, M-A-Z-Z-A. Can you all hear me out there? Okay, I just want to make sure. We're operating under new microphones, so I wasn't sure. So no Janelle Mazza. Marco Rizzo, R-I-T-Z-O.
Good morning, councilmen and neighbors. I've been listening to the conversations that we've been having already. One's on the radio, one's on TV, the previous committee meeting. And I've also spoken with neighbors and code enforcement. We're actually all in agreement. The actual problem is enforcement of the current ordinances against the tiny percentage of party houses. None of us want party houses in our neighborhoods. The issue is enforcement. Absolutely, right? Nobody wants party houses. The issue has been enforcement. There are noise ordinances, there are nuisance ordinances. These need to be enforced. So if we say there's 3,900 unlicensed and 154 licensed properties, 1% of those is 40 properties. My conversation with code enforcement is there's a short list of party houses. There's a short list of houses over and over again in these people's neighborhoods, in my neighborhoods, that are causing problems. So we need to enforce that. SUP, things like that doesn't help. But what our group's proposing is working with a security company. It actually made it into the ordinance for 5 or more. So what we're suggesting is working with the security company, creating a 24-hour hotline that our friends, our neighbors can call, and our enforcement group would go there, help code enforcement, eliminate those resources. But the idea is a 24-hour hotline to enforce it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And as you all come forward, although I'm calling your name, please state your name for the record, for the clerk to have the appropriate name on the record, okay? And in addition to that, the reason I set the time for everyone at 1 minute is because we've had over 3 hours of correspondence and time at the previous recommending. So we've heard a lot of things that's going to be repeated today. So if you have something new to add to the conversation, please make sure that you get that within the window of your 1 minute. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you so very much. And next item, next person is, it looks like Cammie McClure. Cammie McClure. Stephen, I'm going to kill the name.
Good morning, council members.
Hi.
Cammie McClure for the record.
Okay.
I actually live in Ward 5, which I understand is your ward, sir.
Okay.
There are short-term rentals in my neighborhood, and they are properly licensed, and they are following the rules, and we've had no, at least in my neighborhood, we've had no code enforcement issues. I am in agreement that we do need to enforce the party houses that nobody wants in their neighborhoods. Changing or amending the current ordinance is not doing that. I think the city needs to consider the ordinance as it is written and consider code enforcement. We live in a city that is built for entertainment. The city is built on tourism. The hotels and the resorts that are here cannot house all of the people that come from all over the world to experience the beautiful city of Las Vegas. So I want to encourage the city council to look at the current ordinance and look at how code enforcement can focus on the unlicensed homes and the party homes, which is really essentially where the issue lies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Stephen, Khalilzadegan. Okay. George Anderson, Kenneth Calder. Just please state your name for the record again. Thank you. And are you George or Kenneth?
George Anderson.
Okay, great.
Good morning, George Anderson, licensed Nevada real estate broker with Addicted Realty. Good morning, council members. I was present at the last recommending committee meeting. I currently am a property manager in the city of Las Vegas. I manage 104 long-term rentals, leases of 1 year or longer. I also manage and hold the short-term residential rental licenses of 8 properties here in Las Vegas. I'm wanting to address today the commercialization comment that has been made regarding to those in favor of this ordinance. The commercialization of neighborhoods is not just from short-term rentals, and I'd be very careful with if the council goes down the path and saying any income-generating activity in a residential property is verboten in a residential neighborhood. We have quite a few investors and people who live in Vegas that make a living off of renting out their house as a long-term rental as well. So if we're going down the path of impeding on property owners' rights and saying no commercialization is allowed, we're getting into some very dangerous territory.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're gonna ask legal, right? You're not gonna ask anyone in the crowd? Okay, please go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask legal counsel for like to ask you, Val, a question on this subject. It was just brought up, but I'm aware we have thousands of home office and legally operating and licensed businesses in town. Does this bill in any way impact those existing licenses or any future licenses which are typically permitted?
This bill is not about making money in a residential zone. It's about a type of making money, namely short-term rentals. So as the previous speaker indicated, there are many types of income generating things that happen as home occupations.
My point is they're licensed.
This doesn't affect any of those. It talks about the use of property as a short-term rental and the land use impacts of that use.
So the short answer is it doesn't affect the
That's
kind
correct.
of businesses that we typically permit.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. It looks like Genevieve Amaya, A-M-A-Y-A. Genevieve? Nathan, I can't read this writing. Barilla? Do we have a Nathan in the crowd at all? Okay. Bill. It's blurred. It's actually Barrows, Bill Barrows.
Beer barrel?
Okay. Mercier Boykins. Okay, please state your name for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Mercier Boykins.
Okay.
Good morning, Councilman.
Good morning.
Las Vegas advertising attract the whole world to come to Las Vegas to experience Las Vegas, along with the international tourists traveling and their families, sometimes generations of families, for that one lifetime experience. Filming, movies, award ceremonies. Also, we have kids that come competing, and that's a big problem for them in the casinos. We also have celebrities, athletes, and with the stadium coming up, contractors they need a place to stay also. Some of the guests list require higher end properties similar to personal residence. We do not have, if we don't have licensed short-term vacation renters, we want to have housing available for families and groups mentioned above. If the houses are not already licensed STR, then properties would not be available for the guests for the 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks. Only properties that would be available for 30 days or longer, and the guests do not need to rent that long.
Thank you. What you can do is you can submit the rest of your report, your letter, to the clerk for the record, and we'll have that on the record for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay? I appreciate it. Thank you. We have Ginger Calder and Richard Calder. Asia Duncan. Elena Elfimova. Sarah Falk, F-A-L-K, Sarah Falk. Kendall Heath. Kendall Heath. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Kendall Heath, and I'm a licensed short-term rental owner in the city. In March of this year, the City of Las Vegas requested a business impact study on how the proposed ordinance would affect short-term rentals in the city. There were 108 responses, and 107 of them were positive, supporting short-term rentals, and only one was negative. The responses came in from travelers all over the world asking, please keep short-term rental options open. There was also responses from owners and managers and local supporters of short-term rentals. I will clarify that 107 responses that were positive about short-term rentals, they were not in support of the proposed ordinance changes that are being presented today. We have not heard one mention of this study during any of the hearings or meeting discussions on short-term rentals. So we have copies of those with us, and we'd be happy to read all 108 responses for you now, in case you have not already read them. And these Las Vegas residents and travelers deserve to have their voices heard also.
Thank you. And you
And
may
I
turn
have
in.
the impact study. if
Yes, you may turn in the impact study
Okay.
also to the clerk. We'll be happy to take that from you. Leslie Holman, H-O-M-A-N, Leslie Holman. Jessica Khalil Zagdigan. Julie, I guess this is the same family. Khalil Zagdigan. Dan Lacey. It looks like Z-O-H-A-R, Zohar, Zahar, L-O-T-E-M. Sigrid, S-I-G-R-I-D. Teresa Mesoloris. Thank you. Your name for the record.
Yeah, Teresa Mesoloris. Good morning, Councilman Anthony.
Good morning.
Barlow and Coffin. At the last recommending committee, it was stated that we are making money hand over fist. I am licensed in the city of Las Vegas. I have a 3-bedroom property. I charge $109 a night. My property has a 3-night minimum, so a 3-night booking grosses $327. I still have to pay my expenses of utilities, cleaning, and pay my local taxes. This past winter, I hardly had any traffic because of all the competition I have with houses that are not licensed. You may ask why I even prefer short-term rentals over long-term rentals. It's because the long-term rentals do not take care of my house, and many times I've had to evict tenants because of non-payment. This last October, I had a tenant who left their 3 dogs upstairs all day where they urinated on my carpet and left dog poop everywhere. I had to replace all my upstairs carpet. I am not making money hand over fist. Thank you.
Thank you. It's okay. Aaron, O-E, first two letters of your last name, O-E, Aaron. Yeah. Miriam Saba. Miriam Saba. Andrew Stahl. Sharon Stigler. Michael Zing, Z-E-N-G. Okay, so that was the list of those that we missed at the last recommending. So now we're going to climb through all of those that have submitted today. So please bear with us as we bear with you. Okay?
Lawyers billing by the hour should like this.
Okay, the first person would be Norman Schilling. Norman Schilling. And Susan Woodbeck would be next.
Good morning, Councilman Barlow, Councilman Anthony, Councilman Coffin. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I'm here to ask that you consider in particular removing the requirement for the special use permit. The reason is that, as I explained in the last meeting, I invested over half of my life savings as a retirement into short-term rentals. I did that in good faith based on the rules that the City of Las Vegas put forward. I've met all of those requirements. I am very intent on not having a party house. I've met with all my neighbors, explained to them what I'm going to do. I'm very concerned that after having complied with all of the city regulations to create these two short-term rentals as an investment, that the rules are now going to change. I'm going to be required to have the additional expense of a special use permit. I'm not sure what all involves. I've been told that I may have to hire legal help to put that through. And then at the end, I don't know if I will even be approved. So I ask, if anything, please, those that are already legally licensed and have met the requirements of the city, that you at least grandfather those properties in so that they do not have to later go get that special use permit. The big problem is the party houses. I think it's all about regulation and enforcement. There are a number of operators who want nothing more than to meet city code and regulations and be good neighbors and take good care of neighborhood. I am investing in these properties and in the neighborhood, and I take that very personally and to heart to do a good job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Are you
Good
Jessica?
morning, Susan Woodbeck.
Oh,
I
Susan.
reside at 1225 Strong Drive with my husband Frank Woodbeck and our now 10-year-old son. 4 years ago, my husband and I chose to, with our newly adopted son, who was at the time 6, chose to move to the historic district of Las Vegas so that we could experience community and history and architecture. And all of those things have been true. However, shortly after buying our home, the house directly across the street from us became a proverbial party home. I cannot even begin to tell you the things that our son has experienced, what we've seen, everything from porn movies being filmed to drunks driving out of the driveway at alarming speed. It went on and on and on. It was very scary. But fortunately, about a year and a half later, the house did sell, and a lovely family lives there now. But then, to the left of us, that family passed away, and it was sold again to investors who live in Chicago and own many, many of these short-term rentals. And shortly after them purchasing that home, a neighbor, who's here sitting behind me, observed a whole bunch of used condoms on the driveway, took photos of them. Additionally, the next day there was a lot of trash out on the driveway, so I was out trying to clean all this up When a man appeared at the property who said he was a friend of the owners, we politely requested that he convey this information to the owners. The owners then...
That's your 1 minute, I apologize.
I'll wrap this up. The owners then hit us with a legal letter that we were somehow impeding their business. So I'm asking that you restore some sanity to our lifestyle. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Saylor, Jewel Dixon. In that order, come on up. And Catherine Fox would be third. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jessica Saylor. I am a homeowner in the Saratoga Meadows area. I'm asking you to please vote in favor of passing this legislation, this bill. I have worked 2 jobs my entire life since I was 15 and saved up all of my money to be able to buy a house. And I am heartbroken. I am absolutely heartbroken over seeing what's going on in our community. This is commercialization of a residential neighborhood. I don't want to have fear that my children and my neighbors' children and the children that I even work so hard in this town to protect and educate at the Delta Academy have to worry about walking by houses where there are people who are partying on the weekends. The only difference between a short-term rental and a party house are the people that are occupying it for that period of time. That is the only difference. And it is devastating to me that this is happening. And I ask you to please vote in favor of people like me who are working so hard to make this a better town for all of us to live in.
Thank you. Jewel Dixon. Catherine Fox. Is Catherine Fox here? Yes, we just come to the microphone, please. Okay? Thank you.
My name is Jewel Dixon.
Yes, sir.
And I'm here to, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go.
I support Council Bill 2017-16. I live at 612 Campbell Drive. I have had a party house there since 2011. This past Sunday, Memorial Day, there were 400 people there. Marijuana, drinking, I videotaped over 150 cars. Channel 13 reported on it. And there was 5 patrol cars out there. The sergeant in charge, Sergeant Nolan, admitted to me that he was afraid to give them a ticket because he didn't want to create any feedback. So he went 5 hours with 5 cop cars going there trying to protect the neighborhood. They were scared of a riot.
1 minute. Thank you, Mr. Dixon.
I'd like to see something done about it. I've been after this for many years.
Thank you, sir.
Hi.
Just give us 1 second, if you will, please.
Sure, of course.
I have a question
Councilman
for staff. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to ask staff, since we're going to be at this for a while, if they could provide us with information about the conclusion of that episode on Campbell. I would like to know from licensing, who I see are present, Vicky's here for sure, code, to find out what enforcement actions took place and citations were granted. I would like to have that right away. That's one that stands out, so it ought to be available. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And that will not count against your time. Ms. Fox?
Yes, Mr.
Okay. Your
Hi,
name, once again, for the record.
Sure. I'm Catherine Fox. I live at 1244 Park Circle. Unfortunately, we, the residents of these beautiful historic neighborhoods, are stuck with this law we had no opportunity to vote upon, stuck with 660-foot minimum between business/motels, and stuck with the reality of very short-term rentals in our neighborhoods. Not like the much more fortunate Henderson, which has a 30-day minimum for rentals. Now we have an opportunity to have a small voice with the passage of this bill. I personally consider it to be a huge compromise, but it is something. Whether respectful and quiet or noisy party houses, they are still motels. They still deplete our neighborhood of residents and deeply challenge our sense of community and home. There is a reason all these people are here vehemently in opposition to the SUP requirement, because they know very well that except for themselves, the business owners, these neighborhood businesses, motels, cause everyone around them anger, unhappiness, and aggravation. Please give us, the residents and homeowners, a voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric King, Michelle Duncan, and Gerald Duncan, in that order. If you'll please come and grab a microphone. Eric King, Michelle Duncan, and Gerald Duncan.
Good morning. Eric King, 2601 Pinto Lane. I'm the secretary of the Equestrian Estates Neighborhood Association. We want this passed. We've been fighting this issue for years in our neighborhood. We got three party houses going on, trying to shut them down. Nothing ever happens. This is the movement in the right direction. We support this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Ms. Duncan?
My name is Michelle Duncan. I live at 1716 Adger Court. I'm strongly opposed to the short-term rentals within our single-family residential neighborhoods. They have caused irreparable damage to our quality of life and the monetary value of our homes. We are single-family residential neighborhoods, and in this city we did have zoning, but you've changed that in order to find a means to generate tax money, and this is unconscionable. These are not soccer families. I have one behind me. They are young men who come to town every week. They're free to scream and holler late at night, early in the morning, drive drunk, smoke marijuana out of their drugs, have prostitutes, strippers in the home, and certainly sex traffickers are jumping for joy at this opportunity for a place to carry on their god-awful activity. And you all are responsible. We do not have the security systems of a hotel or a casino. You've put us in the position of attempting to monitor all the above-mentioned activities.
1 minute.
That you are providing a place for these illegal activities, not preventing them. The answer is not more enforcement. The answer is to shut it down.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan.
Please support this ordinance.
Thank you.
My name is Gerald Duncan. I live at 1716 Adra Court, Rancho Bonito. I support Bill 2017-16 and the proposed First Amendment, but it needs strengthening. I would like to say that I deeply resent the fact that the City Council has put all of us Las Vegas neighborhood residents in the position of fighting a perpetual defensive battle just to enjoy what others outside the city take as granted when they purchase a home, peace, quiet, and a measure of security. Here are changes I would propose. When the City Council chose to compromise our neighborhoods by allowing short-term rentals, they were careful to make certain that a requirement was that STRs pay room tax. Our neighborhoods got the risk associated with having motels in the neighborhoods, and the city got the reward. A sweet deal for the city, but insult to injury to the homeowners. I propose the room tax on STRs be increased by 100% for two important reasons. First, to defray the cost of dedicated metro patrols in the neighborhoods that have STRs. Right now, our neighborhoods are exposed, and we have no assured detection or response times, and also to increase code enforcement.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And Mr. Duncan, if you'd like to turn in what you just shared, Mr. Duncan, if you'd like to turn in what you just shared, your letter, you can place it right there in the box. We'll take it. Thank you. Claudia Fleming, Carmen Piper, Amy Saling.
Good morning, Council. I'm Claudia Fleming. I am a native Las Vegan, and I'm a real estate professional in this city since 1978. I am here to bring to your attention short-term rental that is needed. Right now in Las Vegas, we have a housing shortage, and I'm not talking about party houses, and I'm not sticking up for party houses. I am talking about families who sell a house today and have a very small chance of doing a simultaneous closing on another one because of competition. I am talking about Bank of America's mid-level management division moved here now and looking for housing. I am talking about UPS, who moved a division to Las Vegas and cannot get enough property. I'm talking about Merrill Lynch, who has now moved mid-level management to Las Vegas and cannot get enough housing. There's no place for them to go. What are we going to do with the Raiders when they get here? We don't have enough hotel rooms. And as far as a family goes, a family living in the Motel 6 is not conducive to anything. I ask that you do put some limits on these party houses, but the need for the everyday citizen who lives and works and is respectable in this community to have some place to go for 1 or 2 months while they get a house is absolutely desperate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Piper? Sailing?
Good morning, council members.
Morning.
I'm Carmen Piper. I'm a full-time doctoral student. My husband and I are both disabled veterans. We served and risked our lives and risked limb to protect everybody's rights in here. And I'm asking you today to protect my rights as a property owner to be able to continue having a short-term rental. That's our primary source of income. And I'd also like you to think about it strategically. You look at UNLV as trying to become the #1 hospitality school in the world. You can't eliminate one type of hospitality and really do that properly. And additionally, it's a great location for medical tourism. So if we're still going in that direction to increase our economy that way, then we definitely need short-term rentals.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Amy Saline, 1620 Birch Street. I'd like to request that everybody lists their address when they come up to speak, so we know that they're within city limits as well as we are. I'd like to say, my husband bought our home 24 years ago. We've raised our grandchildren there. We've got 3 short-term rentals within 660 feet of us, 2 of which are illegal. Last weekend, we had 27 cars out in front of our house. Our grandchildren were staying at our house. They were frightened. They called us. What do we do? Do we call the police? This has to stop. These are our hope. These are where we're raising our children, our grandchildren. They can't ride their bikes up and down the street. They've got people partying and looting. It's crazy. It's just insane. If we could please just pass this ordinance so we can have a little bit of regulation, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Salem. Also, for the record, just so that you all know, your address is not required, only your name is required before us, okay? Okay, John Sailing, Chris Brooks. It looks like Allison Brazier. John Sailing.
Can I ask a question real quick, though? Why don't the addresses...
I'm sorry?
Without their address, how are we absolutely sure that they live where they say they live? I mean, they could have anybody come in, put on a shirt and say they...
Because I'm not requiring it, that's
Okay.
why, sir.
My name is John Sailing. I live at 1620 Birch. I live in the best neighborhood in Las Vegas, to me, Scotch 80s. I want to clarify a couple things, and then I want to ask a question. There's over 62,000 rooms in this city that people can come in and enjoy themselves. I don't think they have to encroach upon our neighborhood to enjoy Las Vegas. Another one is, I have a home business, just for you guys to know. The difference is, home business, we're not allowed home office business, right? We're allowed 0 traffic for my business. The house across the street from me, which is a commercial business, unlimited traffic. I have Ubers, taxis, party buses coming in all the goddamn time. And I find it ridiculous that in my business, and I've had this business here for over 30 years, I take care of 10 people. I pay tons of taxes, and I can't have anybody around.
1 minute.
And I appreciate it. No.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Chris Brooks, and I'm a Las Vegas native and resident of McNeil neighborhood. And I'm also the assemblyman for Assembly District 10. And I applaud Councilwoman Tarkanian for bringing forth this bill. I think it's a common sense compromise between business interests and the residents of residentially zoned neighborhoods. And so I hope you advance it, and I appreciate you hearing it today. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman.
Mr.
Allison
Chair, I
Brazier.
just wanted to say something to Mr. Brooks. Just welcome back from Carson City. Thank you for representing us up there. You did a great job.
Allison Brazier. Miss Dubois. And also for the record, we have addresses on the cards here, so that helps us as a council also identify the residents here.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
So I'm Mr. Bois. I'm good, thank you very much. So I'm Mr. Bois. Okay. Basically, I host a short-term vacation rental. So I've come here to tell you.
Ms. Dubois, if you will please provide us your first name.
Cherie Dubois.
Cherie?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I host a short-term rental, and I just came here to tell you that we screen very heavily before we rent our property, mostly because we want to protect a very nice property, and also because we really do care about our neighbors. So our surrounding neighbors are 4. They are all very happy. In fact, 2 of them are very appreciative because when they have friends and family come from out of town to stay with them, like all of us seem to have a lot of people visiting because we live in Vegas, they appreciate that they're able to put their friends and family right next door. And so it actually works out well for our particular neighborhood. Everybody's happy. Anyway, I do want to let you know that we have a couple of golf groups. They come from all over the world. They basically rent at our property because they can't bring their golfing equipment into the hotel and up to their rooms. So they fill our garage full of golfing equipment and they golf. I don't know, we have, apparently we have 12 high-end golf courses, and they enjoy those golf courses. There's one set
minute.
of them. Thank you. They return every, well, you know what? I'm just going to cut to the chase then. So we are a destination at Vegas for more than just the Strip. The vacation rentals are in demand all over the world, and they actually do benefit us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you may also turn in your letter if you like to the clerk.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Lorraine Garcia, David Garcia, Tom Levi. Lorraine Garcia? I'm here. Okay. David Garcia? And Tom Levi. Levy? Okay. Please.
Thank you.
First
Good
and
morning.
last name. First and last
Yes,
name.
my name is Lorraine Garcia, and I own a licensed 3-bedroom short-term rental. We are on friendly terms with our neighbors and have been operating for years without incident. I support what our Vegas Vacation Rental Association has already stated. Our guests add to the local dining, shopping, and entertainment revenues. There is no conflict created by the short-term home-based lodging we offer. Examples include a family from Israel traveling with a special needs child through our Southwest Park systems, World Series of poker players from Germany and Austria who do not stay in hotels for privacy purposes, and consumer electronics show entrepreneurs from China who require a garage and in-house workspace. You are hurting the Las Vegas economy and its future for us locals and our unique travelers if we cannot provide open avenues for well-run short-term rentals. The diversity of our travel sector demands that you allow short-term rental options without unreasonable SUP restrictions.
1 minute.
We agree with the goal to stop party houses. The difference is that targeting responsible short-term owners isn't the solution. And I do empathize with all of you. I live in Las Vegas. I don't understand
Thank you.
how you can't get results.
Thank you.
We had a short-term rental shut down.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's David Garcia. I also own a short-term rental, 3 bedrooms, legal for over a year, no complaints. We work very closely with our neighbors. I can honestly say we get along with them really super well. The Las Vegas community has long prided itself as being adaptable to the changing economy, tourism. This bill is not that. This bill basically is disguising home sharing as a solution to enforcement or alternative to enforcement for some truly bad players. I also don't like party houses. I don't own one. I wouldn't respect one. I ask you to please rethink this and consider the people that have gone the right way and are trying to do the right thing. That if you kill short-term rentals in Las Vegas, I really believe in the long run you're going to lose a market because the world is traveling this way. Thank you.
Thank you. Pamela Marr, David Hardy, and Renee Ramberg. Please.
Good morning, council members. My name is Tom Levy. I'm not an out-of-state investor. I live here in Las Vegas. I was practically born and raised here in Scotch 80s. My mom still has our childhood home in Scotch 80s. My wife and I have a vacation rental. We are responsible renters. There's a couple of things that I wanted to let you guys know about our renters. One is if you guys pass this bill, it's going to hurt our local economy. Our renters go to our local pizza spots. They shop at our local restaurants, local supermarkets. I always thought of the city as a progressive city, forward-thinking, from having a great tax climate to having EDC, bringing football teams, and for some reason we're stuck on this particular issue. I'm asking you on behalf of myself, my wife, my kids, and the other people here in the crowd not to pass this bill. It's a contentious issue, and I believe it will be irresponsible to pass it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. For the record, my name's Pam Marr. I live in Ward 1 at 718 Lacey Lane, and I'm testifying in support of this bill. I really appreciate the fact that there's a special use permit factor written into this, and truthfully, if I was in this short-term rental industry, I would welcome the new ordinance because it's going to keep everybody safe, the guests and the neighbors. So I just wanted to thank the councilman for bringing this up, and I'm hoping that it gets put forward to the entire city council. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is David Hardy. Good morning, council members.
Good morning.
I own and operate a legal short-term rental. I live on 6th Street. I've paid over $5,000 to the city of Las Vegas in the past 9 months in tax and licensing fees. I've had 0 complaints from my neighbors as part of my very intensive screening process. I host mostly families and business travelers. After purchasing my home almost 5 years ago, making considerable improvements, I was offered opportunity out of state for a job. Me and my wife are professors, and we applied for a short-term rental, which allowed us to be part-time residents, which we are. Those following the letter of the law shouldn't be punished by the deeds of a few outliers. These party houses, they need to be shut down, and people who are operating legally and in good standing should be allowed to exist harmoniously instead of having us the rug pulled out from under us. Thank you.
Heidi Swank and PJ Aniello. Please.
Good morning. My name's Renee Ramberg, and my family and I have lived in McNeil Estates, where we've paid mortgage and taxes for over 13 years. I am here to show support in favor of Bill 2017-16. This bill is exactly what we need to save our neighborhood and our sister neighborhoods. There's one STR a few doors up from me and one soon to be across the street. For example, the weekend of June 11th, there was a 3-day party at 2900 Mason Avenue.
that is only supposed to have 12 people. This ended up being 3 days of alcohol consumption, 25 vehicles, loud music, trash in my yard, trash in our streets, and cars blocking our sidewalk. This is devastating to our neighborhood and our property values. Our neighborhood, our children play in the streets and they can't be safe with that much traffic and people drinking alcohol. The renters of the STRs don't care about our neighborhood, and why would they? I can't imagine what it's going to look like when there are parties at both STRs on the same day. I don't want to have to call 311 with our very busy officers to respond to noise complaints and intoxicated people when they have more pressing issues to respond to.
We have to ask you to wrap up, if
Yes,
you will.
no, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Hi.
Hi, my name is PJ Aniello. I live at 1234 Campbell Drive. I've lived there for 24 years, and I support this. We have to have a little bit of control on our neighborhood. Not that I don't love waking up to loud music and condoms scattered everywhere and broken beer bottles. It's such a treat. And not to mention the people that go to the strip, party, and then drive recklessly back to these lovely places. But our safety is at risk, and y'all are supposed to take care of us. And I expect it, and so does everyone else. So please pass this so we have some measure of security.
Thank you. Jody Hoffner, Tina Cannon. Assemblywoman, please.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Heidi Swank. I represent District 16, and I reside for about the last 10 years in Beverly Green at 546 Barbara Way. So this bill is mostly about ensuring that we have good neighbors. Everyone loves a good short-term rental. The big issue is that we just don't want too many of them in one place. And those of us who reside in these neighborhoods, what we really want are neighbors, not a continual flow of people through these houses. So by requiring this SUP, it really just means that there's a conversation that's going to happen between this jurisdiction and the folks who want to operate a business in the middle of a neighborhood. It will help eliminate an overconcentration of short-term rentals in neighborhoods that the city has already said is very important to them. Now, you're going to hear from folks that this SUP will drive businesses underground, but I can assure you this last session I brought a bill, AB 321, that gave local jurisdictions like the City of Las Vegas the ability to require short-term rental platforms and individual homeowners who run short-term rentals to submit quarterly reports to the city. So what that means is if there is a short-term rental that does not appear on a list, that has kind of gone underground, you all will be able to figure that out because it won't be on the quarterly reports you get. But I think we need this additional piece of legislation in order to make sure that we are getting that whole picture of short-term rentals in order to kind of make sure we're doing the shared economy very well. Thank you.
Thank you. One moment, if you will, please.
Heidi, thank you very much for serving, especially Assembly District 16. You are my Assemblywoman, and I'm very proud of you. You do a great job protecting our older neighborhoods, so thanks a lot for serving the legislature.
So we have Jody Hoffner, Tina Cannon, Richard McKinley. Please.
I'm Jody Hefner. I live at 3001 Calanthe. That would be a McNeil estate.
Okay.
Been there for a long time. And the best thing that I can find out about a short-term rental is the fact that it has woken me up. Suddenly, I feel like I'm involved in my community. I feel so fervent that we pass this bill. I'm thinking the opposition is just fearful about the hoops they have to jump through. Well, sometimes in life you have to jump through some hoops. And I do know that short-term rental next door to me, my event center, unlicensed, yeah, it can be a party house, which depending on what weekend we're talking about. So, yeah, let's make some folks jump through some hoops and pass this thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, Councilman. My name is Tina Cannon. I'm the owner of a licensed short-term rental in the city of Las Vegas. Las Vegas is among the top 10 cities in the world to have the most hotel rooms. London, England has approximately 90,000 hotel rooms with approximately 9,000 short-term rentals. Barcelona, Spain, 100,000 hotel rooms with about 9,000 short-term rentals. Orlando, Florida, 150,000 hotel rooms with about 15,000 short-term rentals. These popular international destinations offer approximately 8 to 10% of the total lodging options in short-term rental housing. According to internet searches, Las Vegas offers the most hotel rooms in any one city in the world, 152,000 hotel rooms. We find less than 5,000 properties available that would include the total bed and breakfast, home sharing, timeshares, condo hotels, vacation rentals, and short-term rentals. That is less than 3.5% of the amount of total hotel rooms available. Las Vegas falls significantly short of offering alternative housing compared to other national and international destinations. Tourists ask for and demand alternative housing to the hotel room. I'm sure that if you asked all visitors coming to Vegas if they would like to have the option available to them, 90% would say they would like the option of a house or vacation rental. Some travelers will not come to our city if that option is not available. We may find that some conventions will be booked elsewhere too, if we cannot accommodate their members who demand a vacation rental home option. Las Vegas needs to accommodate this lodging market segment request. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, council members. Richard McKinley. As property managers, we'd like to adopt a standard lease agreement that clearly states the components of a nuisance ordinance so that all property owners, managers, renters, code enforcement, and 24-hour response personnel know exactly what is expected of them during the lease and rental. We would like to ask the city to offer a class for new owners and managers so that they can teach them to go over exactly all the licensing process, room tax reporting, and ordinance, and how it specifically affects their short-term rentals and leases. This way, there can be no misunderstanding on reporting, record keeping, and inspections, etc. We would like to get short-term rentals up and running in a positive manner for both the community and for the managers. Licensing and educating owners and managers would be very good for Las Vegas. Thank you very much, council members.
Thank you, sir. Teresa Mesaloris, Sean Neal, Sandra Goodwin.
Hi, good morning. My name is Sean Neal. I live at 6103 Moonlight Sonata Avenue in Stallion Mountain Estates. And I have a statement here regarding SUPs. The statement talks about that we are against the SUPs because they are cost prohibitive to the person trying to get the home licensed. There are legal fees that have been established towards these SUPs between $2,500 and $5,000 in some cases, and up to $6,600 in some cases. I personally do believe that we do need to enforce licensing for all the properties, not just for short-term rental and for other types of rental properties.
Appreciate it. Sandra Goodwin and Teresa Mesalaris. Why don't you both come on down here? And then I need Neil Colebs and Julie Davis. Why don't you come on down? Go ahead.
Good morning, Sandra Goodwin.
I support the statements made by the others that oppose this bill. I'm sorry that some short-term owners have allowed their tenants to cause problems for neighbors. I'm sorry that any one of you or any person here or in Las Vegas has been affected by bad tenants using short-term rentals or uncaring owners renting them. It is fair to punish those who do wrong. However, judging me or anyone else by the actions of others is not fair. If a bar or a restaurant has a rowdy crowd that disturbs others, that bar or restaurant should be punished. It would not be fair to shut down or punish all bars and restaurants because of the actions of one. My late husband and I bought homes for retirement and additional income. He passed away when our sons were 6 and 9. Now these homes are my income. I use this income to support my sons and myself. We never once asked for public assistance for anything.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Thanks. Teresa Mesolaris. Neil Coebs. I need Julie Davis and Edward Norton to come on down here.
Good morning. My name is Neil Krebs. I have a 3-bedroom rental with a pool. I book a minimum of 1 week, nothing less. Many people have asked me for anything less. I have no events, no birthdays, no parties in the screening, and have had no trouble. All my clients are retired, families, pets, grandparents, and parents coming for graduations. Very quiet neighborhood. I get along well with my neighbors. Most of my clients are from overseas, England, Scotland, Germany, Canada, and also other states. I have no issues. Thank you.
I'm Julie Davies. I have a license in your district, Councilman Coffin. You've heard from me before, and you've heard from some people, but some of our vacation rental people were not able to come again and take time off of work. We have some in the audience today who won't be able to speak, and if it's all right with you, Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask a couple questions of the body. Would that be all right? What I would like is, I'd like to ask for everyone in this room who supports short-term rentals to please stand up. And if you have had to take off work today to come down here and have your voice heard or your to show your support, please sit down. If you haven't had to take off time off of work, please sit down. If you are making money hand over fist with your short-term rentals, please sit down. No, it isn't. And if you think that making people get SUPs will shut down party houses, please sit down.
She has a 1 minute.
If you want them to vote no on this bill, please sit down now. Thank you. As we've talked about before, I have a license in your district. It's been held in abeyance because there wasn't a box checked on something. I should be supportive of this bill, but as somebody who understands lodging after 30 years of working in the industry, I urge you to kill the bill because it's not going to take care of the party houses. You're going to have the same people complaining back here again, and we don't want that.
Thank you.
So thank you.
I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is Ed Norton. I'm the owner of Norton Consultant Investigations. I was contacted by the Vegas Vacation Rental Association to come up with a response plan to help them if they had an issue with one of their homes that's in the association, which we've done. They've already obtained their own 800 number 24/7. We've got a company called Central Com, which will man that number for us 24 hours a day. I have 20 people in my company that'll be going through training. We'll be dispatching 2 people out to any call-outs that we get, and we'll be able to make the inside the 2-hour time limit without any problem that I can foresee.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Dov Berry, Nicholas Bennett, Mercier Boykins. He's already spoken. Okay. And Gordon Culp, C-U-L-P. Please, your name for the record.
Hi, Dove Berry. Firstly, let me begin by saying that I have both short-term and long-term properties. I find that owners of homes hate renters typically. They don't like long-term renters. They don't like short-term renters. They don't like Section 8. They don't like anybody that doesn't own their home. And this is just another example of packaging it differently, claiming short-term's a problem. Well, long-term's a problem also. Everything's a problem if you don't own and you live in a community and you rent because you're not as rich. I want to say that regarding my short-term properties, I've never had a problem in the many years of operating them. My neighbors support me in writing. They find that it's been a good experience for them. Prior to turning some of these properties into short-term rentals, I had long-term renters that were destroying the properties, causing problems, having loud parties, and basically drug dealing and even prostituting from those homes. All that's come to an end with respectable, professional, short-term renters. Thank you.
Thank you. And for those of you that want copies of the proposed First Amendment, they are available right here to my right. For those of you that want copies of the most updated First Amendment, please come to the counter to my immediate right. Okay, yes, sir.
Councilman, my name is Nicholas Bennett, and I live at 2116 Kirkland Avenue in Glen Heather Estates. I'm born and raised Las Vegan in Ward 1 since 6th grade. I went to Our Lady and Bishop Gorman. I'm also the treasurer for my neighborhood and very proud of my community. And I do not oppose short-term rentals. However, they are non-conforming uses in a residential neighborhood, and like any other commercial business, it needs to be regulated like it is. You cannot open an office, restaurant, or retail store without strict oversight and guidelines. I can't build a block wall in my neighborhood without a permit. Why should they be able to operate a short-term rental without one? The proposed ordinance would give us a much-needed voice. This is not about party houses. It is about commercial uses in residential neighborhoods. Tourists and investors are not good neighbors. I don't know them. I can't borrow a cup of sugar from a tourist. Those of us who live, work, vote, and help make this community a better place would like to have a strong voice and be protected by our elected leaders. So please vote in support of this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Heidi Boykins. I've been in Vegas teaching since 1999. There are many tourists come here, and some of them want the 24/7 strip experience, and some of them are taking it to homes, and I'm very sorry for that. They're giving us a bad name. We don't want party homes. We want them cleaned up. There's another type of tourist who want a quiet space. They want to have their time on the strip. They want to take a little trip to Hoover Dam, and they want a quiet space to come home. They are not terrorizing neighborhoods. They're not leaving condoms. They are respectful, and that's the kind of people we have in our home, and I hope they can keep having a place to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Gordon Culp. I signed up for item 8, and you just called my name. So
Yes,
can
sir.
you move me into the other pile for item 8 on the Badlands Development Agreement?
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, Gordon Culp. Deborah, is it Kameth? Rave Court? Okay. Annette Smith, and if you're here if I call your name and you're here for the Badlands, just please let me know and I'll move you to. Okay, thank you. Leslie Stringham. Leslie Stringham. Deborah Porter. Cherie Willman. Michael Jacobs, please.
Good morning to the council members. My
morning.
name is Deborah Porter. I'm a resident of Las Vegas for 15 years. Unlike some of the people that have spoken, I have been on both sides of short-term rentals. I have used the service not only here in Vegas, but in other cities. And I've also had rooms in our home that we've made available to short-term rentals. I've yet to party. I've yet to leave condoms thrown around. I've yet to leave vodka bottles or driven drunk. I oppose this bill because I think it impedes on the rights of homeowners so that you punish those that are law-abiding, making a living, and following the rules for the exception of the party homes. If you hear the stories of people that have saved their homes from foreclosure because they were able to use the income from their short-term rentals, you would realize the importance of that. Not only that Las Vegas is a worldwide destination city where we have, as you've heard, visitors from around the world who come here looking specifically for off-strip lodging. So I would ask you to reconsider when looking at this bill.
Hi.
My name is Cherie Wyman, and I have a property located at 5005 Churchill Avenue. I've had this property for several years, and I've generally rented it out to Section 8. And each and every time, they've absolutely destroyed the property, and I've incurred the expense of trying to rehab it and get someone else back in there. I'd like the opportunity to turn that into a short-term rental, but I am very concerned about if I did, that placard that you have on there that's required in it will be displayed when people are in it. So everybody will know when it's not occupied, and I'm concerned about squatters coming in there. So I'd like to ask that be amended off of it, because I think it's going to be a problem. Other than that, licensing, and I love the idea of having a security enforcement committee or company to come out and respond. I think the problem here is the party houses. That's what everybody's complaining about. That addresses the problem. Everybody's talking about how do we enforce it. Asking for a special use permit isn't going to enforce it. Having a security company come out and enforce the problem will solve this. I think make everybody happy. Thank you.
Are you Thomas?
Good morning, Councilman. My name is Michael Jacobs.
Oh, you're Michael Jacobs. Hold on one second, Mr. Jacobs, if you will. Thomas Christensen, Leslie Williams, Nicole Rose, in that order. Please, sir.
I have a property at 1501 Montessori in the city of Las Vegas. We're fully licensed. We've been operating for over 6 months now and have never had one complaint, and all of our neighbors are in compliance with us. And what I'd like to say is that just like medical marijuana and recreational marijuana, until it was licensed, no one had any control over it. Now cities and states are reaping the benefits of hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenue. Licensing all short-term rentals would provide significant funds for the city from application fees, licensing fees, and the Las Vegas Convention Authority would receive income from room taxes. Licensing all short-term rentals would be another source of income for the city as opposed to current drain on the city resources trying to manage the unlicensed properties that exist. Everybody here that has a shirt on like me wants to be licensed and regulated by the city. We have professional sports teams coming to Las Vegas, and 10 years ago we would never even have considered that. Let's continue to be a leader that attracts all tourists and offers all options for all their housing needs. If you license short-term rentals, regulate them, you'll have control over them, and when necessary, you can shut the bad operators down. Thank you.
Thomas Christensen. I live at 2030 Palm Canyon Court in the city. I do not operate it as a vacation rental, but I have other vacation properties in other jurisdictions. I agree with everything that's been said. I'd just like to put a finer point on 2 items. One, it is not a zoning violation to rent a single-family residence to a single family for a short period of time, or to rent it for 31 days either. And if it is, then I am violating the ordinance right now because my daughter and her 3 children are in my house for 8 days, a short period of time. She purchases dinner for me and takes me out to dinner when she comes here, and so I'm in violation there. And not only that, Although I'm not in favor of party houses, I have to admit, I had a party yesterday for Father's Day.
Good day. Dear Honorable Council members, my name is Leslie Williams. I'm an associate lawyer at the immigration law firm of MC Law Group. Mrs. Margot Cherney-Shiva, the founding partner of our firm, in Nevada chapter chair of the American Immigration Lawyer Association, has prior engagement as a speaker at a 2017 AILA National Conference. She regrets that she was not able to attend. However, she has authorized me to read this letter on her behalf. As professionals working in the immigration law and international affairs field, we understand how important the tourism industry is to our great city and our state. From international investors investing in Nevada to women growing up locally here in Vegas. We all benefit from tourists with different traveling demands and preferences for their travel to Las Vegas. There are also professionals and investors and interpreters coming to Las Vegas to conduct their business and do not want to stay on their strip or in a hotel. Also, as some of our families coming from overseas to visit us, many times we prefer they stay close. So she was saying that when people come to visit us, the family members, they prefer to stay close.
1 minute. And what you can do also is you can submit the letter
Yes.
to the clerk, and we'll be happy to take that and
No
place it on the
problem.
record.
And I'll just read her last sentence.
Okay, thank you.
It is for those reasons we surely want to keep short-term rentals as a great option for our various families and friends coming from all over the USA and all over the world. We would kindly ask the council to consider the Las Vegas one of the most great tourist destinations in the world and keep the key option for family vacations as short-term rentals. Sincerely yours, Margot Cherney-Shiva. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Todd Von...
Nicole Rose?
I'm
I
sorry?
was the last person in the last group.
Yeah, just a
Nicole
moment,
Rose.
please. You're Nicole Rose. Okay, just one moment. Todd Von B-A-S-T Bastian? Okay, got you. And Scott Carlson? Richard Bruno? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Rose.
Thank you. I'm Nicole Rose. I'm a licensed owner of a vacation rental. We've had our license for about 1.5 years. We thought the process of getting the license was fair, and we think the current rules are fair. What we're concerned about is that the current rules are not being enforced. We've had evidence today, testimony from Ms. Beck, who brought photos, the director of the Equestrian District's HOA, who said for years that they've had party houses in their district. PJ Amello said she's picking condoms out of her front yard, and Mr. Dixon said there was 400 cars in his yard the other day, and this has been going on since 2011. And Councilman Kaufman is just now asking for details about this. The abuse has been going on for years, according to the testimony. I'm guessing that the owners of those party houses are not here today. Am I right? So the licensed owners are being penalized by the requirement of the SUP. The SUP is not going to solve this problem. You have to, and if you would enforce the current rules, you would not have party houses. So I oppose this bill because it's not going to solve the problem.
1 minute.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Todd Von Bastian, 1708 Birch Street in the Glen Heather neighborhood. I've been there since 2003, and just last week my house hit the purchase price I paid for back 15 years ago. So that's, you know, it's great that the market's coming back and stuff, but we are all concerned about the behaviors of the guests that are coming in. Vegas promotes a party atmosphere, therefore a lot of the renters coming in feel that that's what they get. I wanted to ask a quick question. With all the people that are the owners here that are doing these vacation rentals, how many of you live within 300 feet of that property? How many of you are actually neighbors to the property that you rent out every weekend for people to rent? So thank you.
Thank you. Shelley, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Scott Carlson?
Yeah, come forward. Just give me 1 second. Shelley Walters, Jeremy Shields. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Hi, I'm Scott Carlson, and I am in support of, I support and applaud what Councilwoman Tarkanian is trying to accomplish with her bill. And my comments go more towards some fine-tuning adjustments to make the new law less vulnerable to legal challenge. My first comment is with regard to the 660-foot suggested difference between short-term rentals. The statute that is proposed uses a property line to property line measure, and I think you're well advised to change that to a dwelling unit to dwelling unit measure. And the reason being is that if you take a pair of short-term rentals in a dense neighborhood, maybe in downtown or Summerlin, those would be favored versus a more rural neighborhood. You could have two pairs of houses, both 670 feet apart, and one would be permitted in the denser neighbor, but because of a bigger lot size in the rural neighborhood, that would not be permitted. That's a discriminatory result that I'm sure is not intended, but I think it's vulnerable. And then the second issue is I think you might want to consider using that measure as leaving it as a guideline in the SUP process as opposed to a codified statute. I can see if you put it in a statute, you can create a scarcity factor where I have some very smart neighbors in my neighborhood.
Sir, I have to ask you to wrap it up. You did submit this letter,
Yep.
and we do have it.
Fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And clerk, I want to make sure that you have a copy of the letter as well. You do? Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you. Okay, next, please.
Good morning. My name is Richard Bruno. I live in the Equestrian Estates area on Palomino Lane. I'm a business owner, and I'm all for everybody, using their entrepreneurial skills and making money and so on and so forth. But in this case, I support the bill. I think it's absolutely immoral that investors can poison residential neighborhoods with party houses, destroy the peace, tranquility, and safety of neighborhoods, not to mention property values, which in the case of most folks is their biggest investment. I've seen it personally. This gentleman that spoke earlier on Campbell, and I'm familiar with that party house. It's amazing what goes on there. And my question is to you folks, you're the folks that have to protect the neighborhoods. What are you doing? This gentleman's been going on for years. I understand enforcement has to be done. Are we supposed to take it into our own hands? It's up to you, gentlemen, and you're failing the neighborhoods.
1 minute.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's okay. Hi.
Shelley Walters. I live at 2112 Kirkland Avenue, and I am president of the Glen Heather Estates Neighborhood Association. And obviously, there's been quite a few Glen Heather residents here today, taking time out of their schedule. That's how passionate they are about this. The majority of our neighborhood is against vacation rentals, period, but the majority is also in favor of this bill so that we can have some restrictions on our neighborhood. I know I've lived in the neighborhood for 20 years, and several other people that have spoke have lived there 10 years or more. And we didn't bargain for this when we bought our homes. We didn't bargain for a hotel business to be run in our neighborhood. So we ask you to, we support this bill, and we ask you to vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Kendall Heath, Ken Graham, Cara McGee. Please.
Yeah, Jeremy Shields. Good morning, council members. I believe myself to be somewhat of an expert on vacation rentals. I've dedicated the last several years of my life to studying it. I located here in Las Vegas in the city because you guys had an ordinance that made it that we could get licensed and do it legal. And that's the way we wanted to do it. The trend of vacation rentals is growing exponentially, and it's going to continue that way. And we're not going to stop it. The only people here are the ones who are trying to do it legally. The ones who are doing it illegally aren't here. We would like to work with you guys to make things happen, to make sure we don't have party houses. We're getting the security hotline, and basically we would like to work with our neighbors too. We don't want neighbors upset. We don't want party houses. We want to work together to make something that works for everyone, and the bill as it is isn't it. And you can't ignore it because it's growing, and people are just going to do it illegally if we don't make it so they can do it legally. We want to license more people so we can regulate it and make sure that things get regulated. There's not any party houses, not any problems. And we'd like to work with you guys to do that. So I ask you to kill the bill as it is. Let's work together, find something that works for everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
My name is Ken Graham. This bill is extremely controversial and should not be adopted. Instead, the City Council should work with the short-term rental industry and develop sensible regulations that will actually solve the problems. I'm holding a device here that we use in our property. It's a noise monitor. It allows me to monitor the noise level at my property 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. If the noise gets too loud, I can contact the guest, address the problem well before my neighbors are disturbed. This is a good idea. The short-term rental industry has proposed a security 800 number for residents to call if there's a problem. The solution in this ordinance that's being considered today requires a special use permit that is extremely expensive and difficult to obtain. For these reasons, I urge the council not to adopt this ordinance and to work with the short-term industry to find better solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Richard, it looks like
I'm not Richard.
lives on Trotter. Truesdale? Richard Truesdale. All right, Richard Truesdale and George Anderson. And Mary lives on Shadow Lane. Mary that lives on Shadow Lane. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Kara McKee. I am the owner of a very large short-term rental home. I take many precautions to make sure that my neighbors are never bothered by any of my guests. Before I bought my home, it was vacant, robbed, and vandalized, and it's now a well-taken care of home in a beautiful neighborhood. Vacation rentals provide a service that would otherwise not be provided in Las Vegas. I have families that rent my home that don't want their children, their grandma, and their grandpa to have to stay at a hotel or casino where they don't have anywhere to spend time together in the evening. They can't exactly go and hang out in the bar. If they can't rent a home here, they're going to find another city to go to. It was not long ago that issues like medical marijuana and Uber were being debated in Las Vegas. We must think of the future. We rely on tourism, and we want to be competitive with other cities. Please work with the industry to find solutions that will work so that we can all benefit from the short-term rental industry. The bill being proposed will not solve the issues that you're trying to address, and it will only frustrate the community and the owners of short-term rentals. Please vote no on this bill.
Hi, Rick Truesdale, 808 Trotter Circle. I don't feel bad if we frustrate the owners of short-term rentals any way, shape, or form. They're affecting our neighborhoods. They're affecting the quality of life of our families. I like talking to my neighbors. I like to know who's in the house next door in case there's a problem that I could help with or other neighbors in my neighborhood can help with. I think this ordinance is long overdue, and by the input by all of the people here that seem to want to delay it and delay it and delay it, it must be in the right direction to controlling some of the things. There should not be a waiver for the 660 feet. No one should be able to apply for a waiver. I'm sitting with one party house 8 doors down from me, and the other night at planning, there's an application for a new one to go right next door. That waiver is a waste of my time and infringes on my quality of life and my property rights as well. People forget, I've lived here since 1964. The first short-term rental project in this valley was 4 Mile Trailer Court. It didn't do so good for the neighborhood down there. We need to put a few more things in this ordinance with regards to $500,000 insurance for a residential commercial is at the very minimum.
1 minute.
They should be at least $1 million. You back over one child walking to school, and that insurance isn't going to be much. The homeowner investor is going to run away, and what does anybody have? We've gone through this in the past. Also, the idea of having 24-hour on-call security. I manage a motel. I have people on property, a 60-unit motel. I have people on property 24 hours a day, and I have security there during peak hours that is needed.
Thank you, sir.
If these houses are going to be approved, 6 or larger, make them provide a 24-hour security on site. That will stop the party house issue.
Thank you.
And one question for the staff, or for the council. I don't know if Mr. Nelson
I have
is
to
here
get you
or
to
not.
wrap it up if you don't mind.
Did his report show anything dealing with prostitution in any of this?
Thank you,
was
sir.
working for the organization.
I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Mary Kuhn, and I'm here to represent the owner of a short-term vacation rental at 1231 Shadow Lane, located in the Scotch 80s. His name is Lee Zucker, and he's out of town and could not be here today. We understand the issues and concerns of adjacent property owners to those short-term vacation rentals that abuse the system and have a disregard for the quiet enjoyment of others. We've been operating our short-term rental vacation for just shy of a year and have had no complaints with any neighbors with respect to guests staying at our property. We carefully scrutinize every guest and interview them to make sure they are aware of the no-party rules. We turn away a lot of business in doing so because we respect the right of adjacent neighbors. We make our guests sign strict contracts and take large security deposits to enforce these rules. We have an exterior surveillance system that operates 24 hours a day to make sure that these rules are taken seriously. The bill today that is before you is overly harsh and punishes all law-abiding short-term vacation rental owners because of those who ignore business licenses and decent common sense to adjacent neighbors. We agree that some rules need to be in place so that things work favorably for both short-term vacation rentals and adjacent property owners. But to require a special use permit, especially after business licenses have already been issued, is completely unfair. We have guests booking far in advance, and to take away our right to do business in a respectful manner is completely unfair. Let us all work together and put a system in place that will keep everybody happy and allow short-term vacation rentals to continue doing what they're doing, which is to provide alternative vacation space to those who do not wish to stay in overly priced, highly congested hotels.
Thank you. Did George Anderson speak? Yes. And Mary, that was Mary? Okay. Tony Holly, Rita Kendall, it looks like Mia Rose.
Mia Rose, front row.
Okay.
White blouse.
Joe Locatelli. Jay Brown.
Okay, my name's Tony Holly.
Okay, great. Great to hear from you, Mr. Holly.
My name's Tony Holly. I previously owned a vacation rental that we had to close due to a conflict with the HOA. But we had our vacation rental there for over a year. We had renters every weekend. We never had one single solitary complaint. We considered ourselves responsible vacation rentals. I'm opposed to the party house 100%. I don't have much to add other than what's already been said up here, but I wanted to share a quick story with you. Me and my wife took me and my 2 college daughters and my mother to Seattle for a trip. One of my daughters had an internship there. We would have not been able to, as a family with 5 people, to afford multiple hotel rooms. Because of the Airbnb accommodations that we were afforded with in Seattle, we were able to all share a common quarters. It was a memorable experience for my family because my mother was able to be there with us with such a great time with my daughters. But again, it makes it possible when some otherwise not possible able to a large group of people is what I'm saying. We were able to get there with a large group of people and enjoy the city. I believe that we're punishing responsible, really quick and I'll wrap it up. We're punishing responsible people for the actions of the party house. I say we kill the bill, let's focus on the party house. Focus on what we need to do to get that out of people's neighborhood. That's it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rita Kendall, and I guess I come with maybe a different perspective. I came from Henderson, which they had made it into a Airbnb, and I was actually a short-term renter. I'd been there for 9 months. I moved back here a couple of months ago, but just from my experience with what was happening, I tried to be a good renter, but when the Airbnb went in, there was no notice, no warning, no anything. And it was very somewhat unnerving, scary for me and the neighbors. And I had tried to get to know the neighbors, and it was good, but suddenly, and there was 4 bedrooms, and I had been renting with 3 other people longer term. But suddenly there was a man and a little girl in 1 room, 1 bed, in the room next to me. And they were there for 3 nights, and then people started coming and going at all hours of the day and night.
1 minute.
All I know is that the neighbors were very upset. I was upset, and I would not want to live in a home next to there.
Thank you.
Members of the recommending committee, my name is Joe Locatelli, here today representing the Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors.
Great.
The Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors is neutral on the proposed ordinance before you today. We are concerned with the preservation of private property rights and the ability of a property owner to use their land as they see fit. But we are also keenly aware of and sympathetic to property owners in the area who have a right to quiet enjoyment of their property. Rather than pursuing the existing ordinance, the Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors believes that there are other options available to city policymaker and stands ready to explore those options with city officials should you not move forward with this proposal. Thank you for the opportunity to provide you with our perspective.
Thank you. Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown, I understand that there's 3 people that have afforded their 3 minutes to you, plus your 1 minute.
I'll just take the 1 minute like everybody else today, and we'll wait for that for City Council.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you
sir.
very much, though. As you know, the homeowners associations can prevent short-term rentals in their community, notwithstanding whether this bill passes or does not pass. And that's the way it should be. What I'm asking that the reverse should also be true. If an HOA decides that they want a short-term rental in their community, the city should not require an SUP, nor should it limit the number of occupants. I'd also like to say on another note, the reason people are so concerned about obtaining SUPs is that, to my knowledge, one has never been granted. I'm also quite sure that a waiver has never been granted for the 660-foot requirement, and that's what's so concerning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Mia Rose, and I'm in the John Park District, where I'm Secretary for John Park's historic sites. I'm just concerned, as everyone else here, although I've heard both sides now, so I'm not as adamant as I was, but I do believe there has to be enforcement, and that's where we lack in this town, is the consistent code enforcement. And I don't know at this time what it is like in the personnel department for hiring more people to watch and take care of these specific areas, such as the homes that have, you know, their lawns are growing and everything's falling apart, let alone the party houses. But I believe that there have to be rules and regulations, but if the codes that are presently taken care of right now that are on the books aren't being enforced, how can we enforce this new bill? And I would like to see it enforced, but who's going to be there if we don't have enough personnel? When I call code enforcement, they can't even come out sometimes. And they take months to take care of one little thing. So I'm more concerned about how we can enforce what we're planning to do to protect our communities, especially the so-called historic district, where you have to get a permit to change something in the front of your house, and yet other people, and we're not trying to take money away from the people who are trying to make money this way. I don't believe that would be a good thing to do, because there are people that depend on it for their livelihood, and I would never want to see that happen. But they should be on premises, and that number J on the bill, it shouldn't be just for six bedrooms or more.
Thank you.
It should really be for any Airbnb.
Thank you.
That someone is on the premises. Thank you, Mr. Bartlett.
All right. Annette Fiala. Artie Parker. Thank you. Looks like Jean Asmussen. Okay. Michelle Larime. I'm sorry? Laramie? Okay, Laramie. Okay, come on down. Please.
Good morning, council members.
Morning.
My name is Annette Fiala, and a lot of everything I wanted to say has already been said. And mostly I would like to focus on our Vegas Vacation Rental Association. We do not like party houses. We would like them to shut down. But I would like to say, when I go to Big Bear, California, or Bryan Head, California, I have 6 children, and I would like the option of a short-term rental. So I think that people coming to Las Vegas would like to have that option also. They're not here today to find out that it's going to be possibly, basically, effectively shut down. When you require a special use permit, in the last year and a half, not one has been issued for a 5-bedroom or more residence. Now, if you're going to require them for 1 bedrooms or more, that's effectively putting every short-term rental house out of business. And while you're giving them 2 years to become in compliant, nobody will apply for that, because as soon as they apply for the special use permit to come into compliance, it'll get denied, and that will shortchange them 2 years of income, which they could have had. So our Vegas Vacation Rental Association, what we advocate for is we would like regulations, a strict uniform lease agreement. We would like fines for the houses. We would like revocation of the license. We have found a security firm to hire that will be a 24-hour response, and basically everyone's complaint here today was the party house. If we have a 24-hour response team that they've guaranteed us a 2-hour response time, 40 minutes up to 2 hours, that would solve the code enforcement problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Laramie, and I live in the Beverly Green neighborhood in zip code 89104. I'm here on behalf of the Beverly Green neighborhood. I am the secretary of the association there. The president and vice president couldn't be here. And on behalf of our neighborhood, we do support the proposed ordinance. We've had several short-term rentals that have popped up over the past few years, some legal and some illegal, and we've had our fair share of problems. One neighbor in particular has had to file at least 2 police reports now because she hasn't had any other way to contact the owner. And in general, we as in our neighborhood have worked very hard to create a sense of community. The folks who own the short-term rentals, they do not come to our neighborhood meetings. They've primarily not engaged with us as the neighborhoods or addressed our concerns, and they have not responded to our complaints. And while we may not always agree with our neighbors, we do try very hard to work together in our little community. And as of now, the short-term rental law has actively undermined this aspect of our neighborhood. So we do support the proposed ordinance, and we ask you to as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jean Asmussen, Park Paseo, and yes, pronunciation correct. I support what Heidi Swank, as well as the lady just before me, said. Changes in the town is affecting both the short-term rental status as well as the homeowners. Homeowners came in, have bought homes to be in a residential neighborhood. They have every reason to want to defend their right to have a neighborhood, to know what's going on in their neighborhood. The city has taken permits and fees from the short-term licensing process. Those papers have every reason to push back that they want to get the money they've put in for. We want to have the inspections to know that as a homeowner, there is a home next to you that's doing short-term rental. There's fire, construction, inspections being made so that you know it's a safe house. Something isn't going to be destroyed from the inside out, so you have more rooms. Homeowners want to be able to know their neighbors. Short-term rentals should be expected to know the neighbors who are their residents as well, and their neighbors.
Thank you so very much. Carrie Helms and Michael McDonald. And have I missed anyone? Because those are the only cards I have right now. Okay, so she'll be the last one, and public comment will be closed after Ms. Helms. Thank you so very much. And being that you're the last one, I'm going to give you 2 minutes.
Thank
Lucky you.
Hi, and thank you for your time today. My name is Carrie Helms, and I've lived and worked in Vegas on the Strip with Cirque du Soleil as an artist and performer for over 12 years. I love the city of Las Vegas, and I want to share my home and community with others. I always and only travel through short-term rentals like HomeAway and Airbnb. I'm a wonderful guest, I have amazing reviews, and I have never once thrown a party. Because of my love for these experiences, I recently purchased my first home with the intention to share it as a vacation home rental. I would vet my guests to find out if they have as great reviews as mine. I've invested too much heart and money into my property to see my neighborhood trashed. But because of the 660 law, I am prohibited from doing so. I ask that you reconsider this law and its radius to make it more reasonable and fair for licensing. I would like to provide a responsible, legal, and regulated business with your help. Please allow me to keep my heart and my home in Las Vegas. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Helms. Okay. So at this time, staff, if you'll please come back. Where's Mary?
Mary Maple.
Peter, whomever, Tom, Vicky. Come on back.
This is on the Lacey Lane incident, for one thing, too. They've got a report to give us on the Lacey Lane incident, or the Campbell incident.
Were you going to update?
Yes, Councilman Coffin, I think after talking to Mr. Dixon, and for the record, Mary McElhone, we found out that the incident didn't happen last weekend. It actually happened a couple weeks ago, and Metro did respond. And basically what's happened at this point in time, if we can get some more information from Metro, we might be able to do a civil fine for the location. But it was a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, code enforcement and business licensing, we were not informed at the time. We found out about it a few days later. I think some of us had seen it on the news.
Okay. Then
So
let me just stop you
can.
there because we may be going a little bit too further out of bounds in relation to what's before us here. But what I would like for you to do, direct you, is to provide Councilman Coffin as well as Councilman Anthony and myself with an update once all of that information is packaged up prior to Wednesday. Okay?
We'll do that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Do you have any further follow-up as it relates to this item before us, before I turn it over to the council members?
Oh, no, not at this time.
Okay. Does anyone else, staff, Vicky, anyone, Tom? Okay, we're all good. Okay, thank you so very much. Public comment is closed, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so very much for your time, your consideration of being here, your concern. I like what one of the residents mentioned in relation to it woke her up, that items such as this that affect your quality of life can do that for us as business owners as well as neighbors, to get us engaged in what's important and what's significant to each and every one of us for the things that we love and protect the most. And so I really like the fact that you shared that, because it's a reality check as far as our ability to remain focused on what's happening in and around our community. So I really want to thank you all so very much for being here. At this time, I would like to turn the microphone over to Councilman Anthony for your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Appreciate all the public comment today. I've been taking a lot of notes, trying to analyze what my recommendation is going to be to the city council. So and I've gotten quite a bit of information from Mary, so let me kind of talk about the lay of the land when it comes to short-term rentals. Today in Clark County, in Henderson, and in North Las Vegas, it's illegal to have a short-term rental. It's against the law. And there's approximately 5,000 that are operating. Okay, so let me just say that again. It's illegal in Clark County, North Las Vegas, and Henderson, and there's about 5,000 short-term rentals that are operating on a regular basis. And nothing's being done about it. In the city, there's about 1,000 short-term rentals being operated in the city of Las Vegas. The requirement is that you need a license to operate in the city. It's not illegal, you just need a license. It's actually legal to operate in the city of Las Vegas. There are 150 that are licensed. 1,000 operating, there's 150 that decided to actually get a license to operate. So there's about 850 that are just operating, just like the other 5,000 in Southern Nevada. So the comments I've heard today are the people that oppose the bill are basically saying we want to operate a short-term rental. We're not causing any problems. People don't even know we're around, and please don't put any more regulations on us. The comments I've heard against the bill or for the bill is that we don't want short-term rentals in our neighborhood, period. We don't want them in our neighborhood. And I've heard we want to get rid of these party houses, the ones that are causing problems in our neighborhood. So let's take a look at this bill. First of all, this bill does not make short-term rentals illegal in the city of Las Vegas. They're allowed to operate, but it imposes some type of regulation. So it imposes a special use permit, it imposes distance separation. There's about another 10 regulations in there that are imposed on short-term rentals, which 850 of them are not even getting the license. So my prediction is if this bill passes, there will not be one short-term or one special use permit application. Nobody's going to ask for distance separations. They're just going to operate under the radar screen just like they are today. So the 150 that even have a license are not going to put in a special use permit. They're just going to operate because their chances, and if they operate under the radar screen, chances of anything happening to them is nothing. It's not going to happen. So this particular bill really doesn't address the specific question of what are we supposed to do with these party houses, short-term rentals that are causing problems in our neighborhoods. This bill does not address that. It just throws more regulations on there that are going to be ignored anyway. The real issue is enforcement and penalties. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is first of all, we're not going to go out there and track down 1,000 short-term rentals in the city of Las Vegas to find out if they have a special use permit. That's not going to happen with the resources that we have today. We have about 10 code enforcement officers, we have some business license people, and that's for the entire city of Las Vegas, and that deals with all kinds of stuff, not just short-term rentals, but graffiti and junk cars and everything else that's a problem in the city of Las Vegas that's a nuisance. So if people think that passing this is going to cause enforcement to occur on every single short-term rental in the city of Las Vegas, I mean, you're dreaming. That's not going to happen. In fact, I was given this information, and Mary, tell me again if I'm messing this up, but it's from an email. In the last year, there were about 24 complaints of short-term rentals in the city of Las Vegas. So somebody or some group called up and complained on 24 short-term rentals, and we have about 1,000 of them in the city. 5 of those were repeat offenders. 1 license was revoked. The problem is enforcement and penalties. There are not enough code enforcement officers. There's not enough business license people. There's not enough people to enforce what we currently have, which is just a license, and not causing. There are plenty of nuisance regulations on the books today to shut down party houses, but we don't have enough code enforcement officers, which is not their fault. That's our resources. Did I miss?
Councilman Anthony, for the record, Mary McElhone. That is correct. For our licensed officers, those are for the licensed properties that we have. But code enforcement, since 2014, they've responded to 266 complaints on 247 properties in the city.
Okay.
So there is but that's since 2014. That's over almost a 3-year period.
Again, how many of those were actually resolved with something?
Well, 148 of those ceased the activity due to the enforcement action. 34 of those became licensed, so that's 34 of our 155. And we currently still have 60 of those that are open enforcement cases.
Which means that we are still not enforcing, and the penalties are, what are the penalties for violating this stuff? Well, $100, $200?
For an unlicensed, Vicki is in a code enforcement supervisor. For an unlicensed facility, it would be, if we catch them and somebody is staying at the property, it's $500 a day. As far as business license, I believe theirs, if they have a violation, is $250 if they issue a citation to them.
Right. And people know that, and they still operate because $500, $250 is really not a lot. It should be $10,000 if you're causing a problem in a neighborhood, but that's not the case today. So I just want to be clear from my opinion. There are great intentions with this bill, but if it passes, nothing is going to change. Absolutely nothing will change if you think that all of a sudden short-term rentals are going to disappear from neighborhoods in the city of Las Vegas. That is not going to happen. So I can't support this particular bill, but I can support something that, and this is really not a discussion for today, but a discussion for the future, for coming up with different enforcement methods and coming up with huge penalties for people operating party houses in the city of Las Vegas. Thank you.
Councilman Coffin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I am going to differ with my colleague, but that's okay because we do this in a collegial manner all the time. He knows a lot about enforcement, having spent 28 years with Metro Captain, and he's seen it all. And I know when he was on the force, he visited these kinds of unruly houses, not the ones we think of as disorderly houses in the old-fashioned Western sense, although it sounds like some of them are turning into disorderly houses. I'm going to support this bill today, and I'll fight for it on the council on Wednesday, if that is when it's being heard. Is that true, Mr. Chair?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. The reason is because I have seen this bill for years now. This is not new. Mr. Jewel Dixon, who spoke earlier about that catastrophe next to his house on Campbell, he and I are becoming very familiar with each other because I think Councilwoman Tarkanian has brought this bill for the last 3 or 4 years. I've lost track, but I certainly know Jewel Dixon when I see him in a supermarket. And he is not a complainer. He is just a matter-of-fact person. There's a disaster here, or there was one there, and he's always able to prove it. And I don't know why we in this building did not know about that. That just doesn't make sense to me. I know it happened on a weekend, and we don't have enough staff working the weekends, which is something we should reconsider because, frankly, if these enforcement violations are taking place on a weekend, then we should maybe staff up for Friday and Saturday nights. We have the ability to enforce. We just have to make the commitment. We can, as you recall, colleagues, I did make a lot of noise about not enough marshals in our parks to control the bums and the drunks that are hanging out in there, and we added money to our budget for that. It is also possible for us to add and augment to an existing budget monies that we think are needed for enforcement of our rules. It is our responsibility to do that. If we make a rule and then do not enforce it, then no rule is good. Nothing we have in town is good. Speed limits, assault, battery. I mean, it literally, if you're going to pass a law to make something illegal, you better well staff up for it. Or otherwise, you're just trying to be popular, and in reality, you're hiding the reality in your budget. So I think we could, if this bill makes it through council, we could augment our budget. We do have the money to augment our budget to pay for additional enforcement people to work on the weekends. Now, that is a protection for those who are licensed in order that they might not be smeared by some neighbor who has a beef against them, because you have that happen a lot. You find that sometimes happens. That's no question about it. But in my ward, this has become a plague, and I think about this. I don't know wards 2, 4, and 6 up on the west side of town, but the east side, and the central core, which is wards 1, 3, and 5, and I've got everything east of the freeway virtually, except with a little bit that I share with Councilman Barlow. It is all east of the ward, and it's older. It's the area I grew up in since I was 9 years old. So I know this area better than anybody. And people are buying houses left and right, and they're fixing them up to use as rentals. But it doesn't help the neighborhood, because you might have a nice looking house that then is empty for 5 days a week, or maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks before it gets rented out. And then when it is, there's no control over the people that have it. So I think that my street alone has 3 unoccupied houses. Jeannie has spoken, Mia has spoken. We have a plague in our neighborhood, so there's just no way I could not support this bill. But I told Mrs. Tarkanian I would. 3 years ago, I said no. 2 years ago, I said no. And now I really understand the problem that she was going through in her ward, Ward 1, because it is now spread across the city, and it will make its way to the rarefied air in wards 2, 4, and 6, I guarantee you. Therefore, I will be supporting this bill today, and Mr. Chairman, I really appreciate the time to give me to talk about this. Thank you.
Not a problem. I thank both of you. This is, yes, Orlando.
Free up a mic. You need a mic free? We're on
It's
the
okay.
5.
Come forward.
You can
Come
turn
forward.
yours off.
It's okay.
I was working now.
Okay, there we go.
Well,
House Ranking, Chairman Barlow, through you, Councilman Coffin, we do have code enforcement officers that do work the weekend. As a matter of fact, we had a meeting with Metro, our Public Safety Department, our Deputy City Marshals, and we're going to try a new approach on handling these. We're going to target the businesses that are problems, because when you go out there as a code enforcement officer, all you have is your little, your little city badge, and it's really a hazard for our employees to be out there. So we're going to partner them with our city marshals, where they're able to go out there and protect our employees and be a lot more forceful in our enforcement. We've heard you loud and clear, and we're going to take action.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for letting him speak. If I could just ask him a question. So, Orlando, in the world I came from before, which was the legislature, whenever we had a bill that mandated something, we also had a fiscal note that would say how much it would cost to enforce this law. You know, it's the same world, really. Do we have a number on how much it would cost to enforce this bill if passed?
Councilman, to my knowledge, we do not, but I will get with staff and we will come up with numbers for you.
Well, I would
by
ask
Wednesday.
that be an agenda item, regardless, through legal staff here and/or anybody else, that we agenda on a very not far distant council meeting, an agenda item to augment the budget to allow for enforcement of this legislation, so that we don't frustrate people, pass something that makes them feel good today, and then they find out we didn't have the money to enforce it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate both my colleagues in regards to their position on this item. The major concern that I have is the enforcement component for what has been shared. That concerns me greatly, as far as the enforcement, hearing that. And so for me, I need to understand how, in fact, if we do change the ordinance and make new laws, how, in fact, will those new laws be enforced? And so, staff, I need you all to help me understand how, in fact, we're going to do that, Orlando, if we're not doing it today. The councilman pointed out that there's close to 1,000 short-term rentals within the boundaries of the city of Las Vegas today. And of that, there's a very small percentage that have been reported of wrongdoing, and I believe approximately 4 or 5 of those incidents is the same home, right? And so when you look at it from a percentage point, it's not as high. However, the flip side of that is what happens to those residents on that street where the report is coming in time and time and time again. And so I have to basically take that and internalize it to basically say, well, what if I were that neighbor? And that neighbor were next door to me or across the street from my home. I mean, that is something that is a 911. It's something that my family and I would want to be addressed immediately. And so for that, a lot of residents are here to basically speak out and say, we're being affected by what's happening due to whether it be the short-term rental / party houses. And let me just digress a minute and basically talk about the short-term rental versus the party house, because it seems to get convoluted with the bed and breakfast as well, which I understand, staff, you have now folded the bed and breakfast, the vacation rental, what was the term, the VROB, the vacation rental?
Councilman, you talk about VRBO?
Airbnb,
vacation
rental
by owner.
I'm sorry, by owner?
Vacation rental by owner,
Right,
VRBO.
and so we now have that pretty much under the same umbrella as the short-term rental ordinance.
That is correct. So we moved bed and breakfasts and rooming houses from under our hotel motel part of our city ordinance, and we've moved those into short-term rentals.
So there are pros and cons to what's happening here, and it looks like everyone wants a win-win out of it. And specifically for the residents, they want to live in a community, in an environment that they've paid their life investments to protect and enjoy, not to be disturbed by ambient noise or other elements that basically come in and out of their community every other weekend, or every weekend for that matter. So I get it on both sides. I get it from the standpoint that there are times where my family and I have rented a home in a community. We don't party, but it is convenient. So I get it from that side as well, as far as having the ability to have family members under one roof and enjoy nice, pristine communities in other cities, because it's more economically feasible for us to do just that. And so trying to weigh how, in fact, this should be positioned, I believe that there's a compromise here that could be had, and I'm not sure how my other colleagues feel about it. But I do know that the 660-foot distance separation from one use to the next is a question that I had earlier, and I believe I spoke to Peter as well as Mary about this, because under the liquor ordinance, when in fact there's a 100-foot right-of-way that separates the liquor uses, that there's an opportunity for that particular liquor use to be waived. But you shared with me, being that this is a waivable ordinance, that particular distance separation would necessarily be useful in this case. Is that accurate? I see Tom, you're shaking your head. Peter?
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, the liquor ordinance is non-waivable distance separation unless you have certain requirements that are being met, one of which is that 100-foot right-of-way separation from either a protected or similar use. The short-term rental is a waivable distance requirement, so as part of the special use permit requirement, you would apply for the waiver if one was within 660 feet of you.
Okay, and let's speak about the special use permit, just for point of clarification, to recap. The significance of the, as you understand it, as it's written, the special use permit serves what purpose?
Mr. Chairman, the special use permit is a discretionary review in which the Planning Commission and City Council have the ability to take into consideration any of the circumstances surrounding the subject site, as far as if the use is compatible and harmonious with the surrounding land uses.
Okay. Code enforcement, the Department of Public Safety, staffing the weekend, that's going to be key in regards to how, in fact, I position myself to vote on this item on Wednesday.
And Chairman, if I may, Orlando Sanchez, Deputy City Manager, the agenda item that's before us right now, this would give us additional tools so we can go out there and enforce. You'll see there's an enforcement there of $1,000, I think, a day, or a misdemeanor fine that they'll go before the judge. I think that just gives us more tools that our enforcement officers are allowed to go out there and enforce these ordinances. The more teeth we have, the more we can impact financially, like Councilman Anthony was saying. So that's what we're trying to do with these ordinances. I'm not sure if Ms. Ozuna wants to add anything, or Mary, but that's my understanding of this ordinance.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to recommend, because I do want to get one more bite at the apple for specifically from the enforcement piece, so that I'm in a better position on Wednesday. And Brad, you can help me with this. What I'm going to recommend is that we move this item out of committee with no recommendation to the full board of the council, and that will give us an opportunity to brief once more before Wednesday, and have the council basically take up the item on Wednesday.
That's fine.
Okay, so my motion right now is to move this out of committee with everyone's concerns on the record, with no recommendation to the full body of the council to be heard on June 21st, 2017. The motion is on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so move. Thank you all so very much for your time. Thank you. I'll see you Wednesday. Just as a recap, item 2017-25 will be heard at the June 21st City Council meeting. 2017-24 will be heard at the June 21st City Council meeting. 2017-23 will be heard at the June 21st City Council meeting. And 2017-16 will be heard at the June 21st City Council meeting as well. We are now down to bill number 2017-26 for possible action, adopts that certain development agreements entitled Development Agreement for the 250 entered into between the City of Las Vegas and 180 Land Corp. LLC pertaining to property generally located at the southwest corner of Alta Drive and Rampart. This is sponsored by Councilman Bob Beers. Staff?
Can we take a 1 minute?
If I could, I'll
Staff, before you come, give us an opportunity. I'm going to take a 3-minute recess just to give us a break.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're in recess.
Hey, Luann, on number 70 on the Sammy Davis Jr. name change, because that meeting Wednesday is going to be so long, I'm going to move to have that obeyed to the July meeting. Or, so if you would make a note, put it on the advance list. Thanks. Oh, boy. Did you have to go break up a party house every now and then when you were out there?
No, we fought crime. Aren't enough cops for party houses.
You must have worked vice for a while. Yeah,
We didn't do party houses.
yeah, you had to monitor that closely.
No, never did. No time for that. We got felonies out there.
We're going to call this meeting back to order.
Either that or I've been imagining it for the last year and a half.
Okay, we are now opening Bill number 2017-27. This is possible action which adopts that certain development agreements entitled Development Agreement for the 250 enter into between the City of Las Vegas and 180 Land Corp. LLC pertaining to property generally located at the southwest corner of Alta Drive and Rampart Boulevard. This is sponsored by Councilman Bob Beers. We are now out of recess. Staff.
Mr. Chairman, Tom Perigo, Planning Director for the record. This bill is, as you read into the record, is to adopt the development agreement. The development agreement has not yet been heard by council, so pending that action, staff has no recommendation on this particular item. I do have a much longer presentation that goes into the development agreement itself, but I'll leave it up to you whether or not you want to hear all that or just discuss the development or the ordinance itself.
Okay, so having said that, Tom, if the development agreement is not in place, then why is it before my committee?
Mr. Chairman, I think the decision was made that in order for council to hear the entire package at one time, and that being Wednesday's city council meeting coming up this Wednesday, that it would be preferred to have the development agreement and the ordinance all at one time for council to consider. The development agreement will be open for a public hearing on Wednesday, and that will follow the development agreement discussion. It's two separate items. One is the development agreement itself, which essentially is a contract between the applicant and the city for the development of land, and then that's followed by an ordinance. It is not mandatory that an ordinance be adopted for the development agreement, but it's our standard practice to do that. It allows the development agreement to be recorded. So the timing, I think the intent was for the ordinance to go directly to council to be heard as a committee of the whole, as sometimes we do, take an ordinance straight to all of the council to be heard as a public hearing and as an opportunity for final adoption or not at the pleasure of the council. So again, it was really, I believe the intent was to have the entire package before the council at one time.
So in essence, this landed on the calendar of recommending by error?
Let me jump in here. For one or better way to put it, yes. I was not at the last city council meeting. I was in negotiations on Badlands. Had I been there, I would have made the recommendation to the mayor at the time that it be sent directly to the council to be heard at the same time of the development agreement. On Wednesday, there's going to be a full-blown public hearing on the development agreement on what we call the 250, which is for the redevelopment of the Badlands Country Club. At the end of that, the council will take a vote. If you vote yes, then you would next consider
Yes on
whether
the
or not
ordinance or yes on the development agreement?
Yes,
Which one comes
no
first?
on the development agreement first. That's the first vote, yes
Okay.
or no on the development agreement. If the answer is yes on the development agreement, then it's yes or no on the ordinance so that the developer can record that development agreement, which you would have just approved.
Okay.
If the answer is no, we'll strike the ordinance from the agenda because it will be irrelevant at that
Right.
point in time.
Okay.
So today, our recommendation, I would believe, is no recommendation, since we don't know what the council's going to do with the development
With the
agreement on
development
Wednesday.
agreement, right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. How are you, Chris?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Members of the committee, Chris Kempfer and Stephanie Allen. I introduced her as Jennifer Lazovich at the Planning Commission hearing, so I corrected that. So I'm doing better already. I've just started. I appreciate the comments made, especially with regard to the no recommendation for this purpose. At Planning Commission, we had a hearing that went almost 3 hours. That included comments from the public, our comments, comments from other council. I cannot believe, maybe I'm wrong, that you don't want to hear a 3-hour presentation now and that exact same presentation on Wednesday. We're happy to do as little or as much as you want. We just think it makes more sense for everybody to say what they have to say at one time. And if we don't give you a full presentation, then it's not fair to you because you're recommending something on other than a full presentation. So what we would just like to say initially is we're ready to move forward. It's been clearly established. If the history of this is long and arduous and for all of us to a degree frustrating and tiresome on both sides. We started out with the Badlands, had to stay a golf course. Then it was okay, it doesn't have to stay a golf course, but it can't be developed. Then it was okay, it can be developed. Then we've had 2 separate court cases have said, yes, it can be developed. We are at the position, we had the city council approve a 435 unit development on the Badlands golf course. So it can be developed. The question is, how is it to be developed? At the city council, it was made crystal clear to us that other than piecemealing this thing together with 61 homes here and 10 homes here and 50 homes here, that we try to come up with a universal plan. And we have been working very hard to do that. We appreciate the efforts of Mr. Jerbick and Mr. Perigo and meeting with the various entities and interests and trying to come up with something. Now,
so is the question that you're asking is whether or not we want to hear your report?
Yes.
Okay. No.
Okay.
And I say that respectfully because from what staff has shared with me and made clear is the fact that the same report will be provided on Wednesday.
Right.
Okay? So what I'm going to do is allow for public comment to take place. So feel free to share whatever you choose to under public comment so that the residents who are unable to make it back on Wednesday, and before I do that, let me make sure, will residents have an opportunity to, is this a discussion item on Wednesday?
Yes, it is. It's a public
Okay.
hearing.
Okay, great. So I want to make sure it was a discussion item. So therefore, I'm going to open up public comment, allow everyone to come forward and share their comments on the record. If in fact they're unable to make it Wednesday, then that information will be recorded with the clerk on the record as to their support or opposition to this particular item. So at this time, I'm going to open up public comment, and anyone wishing to speak under this portion of the agenda may come forward and share with our body as you choose. And I'll start with the 2 of you. 2 minutes.
Okay. What we have done is come up with a plan that we believe addresses most of the concerns, if not virtually all of the concerns. Those of us who live on the golf course, and I'm one of those, now 183 acres of that golf course will be devoted to no less than 2-acre lots, except those homes in my community, which are no less than half-acre lots. So what I am strongly suggesting is that we are a lot better off with this development agreement that this council said go back and do, and we've done. And we've reduced the density. Originally it was 3,000, over 3,000 units. It's now down to 2,169. We've done a myriad of things to make this far more compatible. And I'll just say one thing, and then I'll let Stephanie take the rest of my time. The only thing I want to say is those of us who live on the golf course, the alternative to this kind of development agreement is comparable zoning. The city attorney has said that is what we are entitled to. And so for somebody like me who lives in a 1/4 acre lot, instead of having half-acre lots behind me, I'll get 4, and from my discussions with staff, because I'm on Charleston, maybe 5 or 6 units an acre behind my home and my neighbors' homes on Fontainebleau. Instead, this development gives us half acres. Those on the north side who have 1/4 acre lots are going to have 2-acre lots immediately adjacent to them. If this development doesn't get approved, comparable and compatible zoning puts 1/4 acre lots next to them. They'll have 8 homes on 2 acres instead of 1. So anybody who lives on this golf course anybody who lives on this golf course that thinks compatible and comparable zoning is the way to go has not read this with any specificity.
That's your 2 minutes.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman. And Councilman, before you speak, next will be Artie Parker and Smith. No, you can ask your question. Oh, you want to ask them a question?
Well, Chris could possibly
I
answer this
apologize.
question,
We'll come
or
back for
maybe
it.
Brad or Tom.
I thought maybe you had a question for staff. Oh,
Well, I do, and it has to do with what Chris said.
okay.
So,
Let me just at least tee these individuals up, Councilman, real quick. Artie Parker, Ann Smith, Deborah. Is it Carmel? Canner? Okay, in that order. Okay, Councilman.
okay, so I'm just trying to understand the process here. So, as I've mentioned all along, the owners of Badlands have a right to build on that property. Okay, so what I was against was doing it piecemeal, and that's what you mentioned. So, I wanted the master plan. What is the plan for a building on that property, so everybody can take a look at it. The owners can take the homeowners can take a look at it. I can take a look at it. Everybody can take a look at it. And if I understand the process correctly, we do that first, and we kind of are okay with that, and then we do a development agreement, because that's the contract with the city, correct? Okay, so we had an agenda item put on for today for a development agreement to agree on, I don't know what. I don't know what we're agreeing on, because I have not seen the master plan for us to come up with an agreement with the developer. So, am I missing something there?
No. That's exactly what the presentation is designed to do, is to go through and show you each separate area, what is agreed to where, what densities go where, that kind of thing.
But we're not agendized to do that today, right?
Well,
We're not agendized to approve a master plan.
Wednesday.
Are we going to hear the master plan on Wednesday?
You're going to hear everything. Yes, sir. You are on Wednesday.
What agenda item is that?
No, I don't have it in front of me. I don't have the agenda in front of me, but it's on in the afternoon, and there's going to be a full-blown hearing on the development agreement, which is this master plan.
I'm sorry. The development agreement is the plan you're talking about. It shows how something is to be developed, where it's to be developed, and it's item 82.
So you have a picture of the entire master plan for Badlands?
Yes.
Where is that?
Well, if we can go to the overhead.
Go to the overhead.
Mr. Chairman?
But there's the blue, on the east side, that doesn't tell me anything. Actually, that doesn't tell me anything.
Well,
If I could, Councilman.
That's what, I'm just trying to understand the normal procedure. When you do a master plan community, you do the master plan, you lay it out, do that, and then you do the development agreement, because it locks in the developer with the city, creates a contract, and everybody knows where they are legally. But I don't know what agreement we're doing here.
Let me tell you, take a stab at this.
That's our presentation.
Let me try and take a stab at this. When this item is called before the city council on Wednesday, Mr. Perigo will begin as usual with a full staff report. I have been part of this negotiation now for over 14 months. I can assure you during the course of the presentation, I'm not telling you which way to vote, I'm just telling you what you're going to get. You're going to get details, not just this general overall development area 1, 2, and 3. You will get specific exhibits that will talk about what's in area 1, what's in 2, what's in 3. You'll get the unit count, you'll get the architectural style, you'll get very, very specific detail, right down to where the houses will be and the lot sizes and the like. It's all in the development agreement. There are a number of exhibits that talk about setbacks and heights and construction schedules and things like that. So you will have a full-blown presentation on that development agreement. Without suggesting...
Brad, normally we do that in my office, when I sit down and I look at it myself, and I ask questions, and I like this, I don't like this. Is there, so are we voting on a master plan on Wednesday?
On Wednesday. Briefings are tomorrow.
Are we voting on a master plan on Wednesday, and then we're voting on it?
It's called a development agreement, yes. You're voting on a development agreement on Wednesday. That, as you call it a master plan, it's technically called a development agreement. And then if you vote yes on that, you'll be asked to consider the ordinance that's before you today.
I mean, this...
Councilman, I believe Tom Perico has a response for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilman, maybe I can help clarify this a little bit. The zoning on the property is RPD 7, which is residential plan development. In order for somebody to use that zoning, they need a site development plan review. In this case, the development agreement provides far more detail than would normally be required, and so that is what's standing in place to meet the requirements for the applicant to exercise the zoning that they have. So what you're thinking about are larger scale master plan communities where they actually set out a land use map and so on that establishes everything that's, where the different types of development will occur. This does set that out in the detail that Mr. Jerbick was talking about, and all of that is contained in the development agreement, but also in the exhibits of the development agreement. But essentially, it's a little bit different than say Sky Canyon or Summerlin or any of these others, in that the zoning is in place for residential plan development. The development agreement is a mechanism by which they are determining the details that they can as to how that property would develop.
So where are those details?
Those details are contained in a series of exhibits to the development agreement, and those are all posted online.
Are
In
they
the
here?
backup?
Do I have them in my book here?
He's asking tangibly, is it in the backup?
It's in the backup
Okay.
for the item on Wednesday. I'm not sure that those are in the backup for the ordinance item.
Okay, so it sounds like someone needs to get the councilman the details of what he's asking, if in fact they're in the backup.
Okay, so item 130 is the development agreement, right?
Yes, sir.
And then 131 is a GPA and a waiver and an SDR and a TMP related to this agenda item?
Mr. Chairman, those items that follow the development agreement are items that were previously obeyed at City Council, and that is a request by the applicant to develop 61 units on, I believe, roughly 30 or 33 acres. And so the applicant can describe what their intent is there, but those are on the same property but not necessarily related to the development agreement.
Okay, this is just really, it's confusing because there's an agenda item today and then we're being asked not to hear it, and there's a development agreement and we're supposed to hear it Wednesday, and there's all these GPAs after, and I haven't actually seen anything. It's just, I've never seen one of these before like this. Usually it's laid out and it's organized and it's, we take our time, and so, all right, I'll just wait and see what happens.
Mr. Chairman, if I might respond to the count, that's why Mr. Jerbick said it was basically put on here in air, because this is designed for you to hear this and see this and experience this on Wednesday, not at a recommending committee
Yeah.
meeting. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kemper. Stephanie,
Yes.
did you have anything you want to share?
Nope.
You good?
If
Okay,
we could
great.
respond maybe afterwards, if that's all right, just
I'm
briefly.
sorry?
If we could respond to any questions that they raise or
Oh, we're
address.
not, no, I'm not going back and forth. So if you have something that you want to share now, please place it on the record.
That's okay, we'll save it for
Okay,
Wednesday.
great.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you. So Artie Parker, Ann Smith, Deborah,
We're gonna have Frank talk first. This is Frank's rec.
If I might, my card's in there, but they asked me to talk first because I want to address a couple of things that have already been said. It's Frank Schreck, 9824 Winter Palace Drive. I live in Queens Ridge. I've been living with this for now almost 2 years. And the reason why you're all confused is that they've been trying to cram this development agreement down everybody's throat on an expedited basis so nobody has a chance to understand it and review it. One of the things Councilman Anthony asked is that he just got this agreement. It isn't up to the developer to tell you what it is that this agreement says. You read it yourself first, if this binds the city. But what they want you to do is have this told to you by the city attorney, who has made a lot of misrepresentations to us and to people in the community. The first one I'll say is what Mr. Perigo. Mr. Perigo says that this is already zoned and allowed residential. That's totally contrary to the planning department's reports, staff reports in January 2016 and July of 2017. I'll just read you a couple excerpts, and it's replete over and over and over again in these reports. Before the integrity of the planning department was compromised by this political process. In 2016, this is the one, July of 2016, less than a year ago, it says, the Peccole Ranch Master Plan must be modified to change the land use designation from golf course drainage, which is was approved by the city in 1990 and never been changed, to multifamily prior to approval of a proposed general plan amendment to H. This is so they could build the 3,000 units, and now it's 2,200. But there has to be a major modification of the Peccole Ranch Master Plan first. There is no major modification before you. It's not even referenced in the staff report that's submitted with this development agreement. In addition to that, however, prior approval of a modification of the Peccole Ranch Master Plan on this area, residential units would not be allowed. And that's replete through here over and over again. There is no residential on that unless you modify the Peccole Ranch Master Plan, which provided for no residential, and you do through a major modification, and then you do a general plan amendment, because the general plan has us as PROS and every RPD in the city. There's 7 of them. All are PROS, Park Recreation Open Space, with no density. You have to amend that to provide a zoning category, and then you can zone into it. There isn't a general plan amendment before you with this development agreement. They don't even speak to a major modification, all of which they said are conditions precedent. Less than 8 months ago, for the same exact project. It's a development agreement that's been fine-tuned. I mean, I don't know how you can go forward with this. The whole reason that this is being crammed down is because on Wednesday, there's 4 votes they can count, 2 of which won't be here any longer. One of which is thrown out of office because the people in Ward 2 said they don't want this development agreement. But you're going to allow this to move forward to a council that is already stacked against this. That denies everybody their rights to representation, and it's totally inconsistent with what Mr. Perigo's staff said 6 or 8 months ago.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, it is. We have Doug Rankin.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
Members of the council and recommending committee, George Garcia, 1055 Whitney Ranch Drive, Suite 210. My card's in there. Thank you for letting us go out a little bit out of order. I want to start with the fact that partly picking up, there's an enormous amount of confusion here, and this started occurring before today with the oops by the city attorney's office, and I find it hard to believe that anything that the city staff has spent so much time putting on an agenda, putting in the backup, and being before you is an oops. And I think it was probably a strategic error, perhaps, but maybe not a oops in the sense it shouldn't have been here. Last week at the Planning Commission, I asked for an abeyance at the beginning of the meeting and was told we could not request an abeyance. That at 6 o'clock there was an item on earlier in the agenda, and then there was one later. We asked for an abeyance, said, no, you can't be heard now. Come back at 9 o'clock. I came back at 9 o'clock, only to be, for the hearing, it was actually 11 o'clock, but I was sitting there starting at 9. And then there was no opportunity to be heard yet again at the Planning Commission on the abeyance issue. The Planning Commission chairman and the Planning Commission forgot to call that item back that they told us we would be back and be heard first before the agenda was even heard. So we think what's going on here is there's a pattern essentially in the process of basically not being treated openly, fairly, and transparently. We think that the way the law requires, to say nothing of basically we think that's what you as the council want and expect of the community and way you want to treat everyone. So we didn't get fair treatment there. The information at the hearing, part of the reason I was complaining is the information is still changing as we speak. There's still ongoing discussions and negotiations. Everybody's not been privy to these documents. We have not seen all these documents. A development agreement, unlike any other approval, is a contract that's binding on the city once done. There is no going back and revisiting it unless both parties consent to do that. That creates enormous problems if this gets approved. On the Airbnb issue you've had before you for some time, this committee has looked at this issue multiple times, had hearings, deliberations, gone back and everything else. There's no reason that this item needs to be more forward. What's the rush? What's the urgency for moving this item forward when there's opportunity for a lot of deliberation at this point? I would request that based on the oops, the lack of way which we've been treated properly and fairly we believe under the laws of the state of Nevada, that this item should be obeyed and basically obeyed until an opportunity to come back for the council to have full briefings by staff, by the applicants, and be presented before you. And then at that time you can make a decision whether to move forward. We think now is not an appropriate time or place to move forward. We would request that abeyance. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Artie Parker.
Hi, I'm Artie Parker. I live at 664 Rabel Court, and I'm not a lawyer. What I'm here to say is I can't believe, one, that we're doing this today. We're having this, and then on Wednesday, we're going to have everything all together, and then we're going to have a vote. And two of the people have been voted out of the meeting. I don't understand why we're not having this in July when you have a new council and everything, and I object to this product, period.
Thank you. Ann Smith.
Thank you, Chairman and committee. Ravel Court is still negotiating.
Your name for the record, please.
Oh, sorry, it's Ann Smith.
Thank you.
Ravel Court is still negotiating in good faith through Brad Jerbick with the developer to solve our concerns over the multi-story condos 75 feet from our homes. However, we did oppose the development agreement at the June 13th Planning Commission meeting because the developer's position had only changed by moving the condos a small distance versus reducing the density behind our homes. In a side conversation with Brad Jerbick and my husband at the Planning Commission meeting, I asked what was the next step in the approval process. Brad told me that there were no more meetings before the council meeting on June 21st. So we were very surprised and confused, which like we see today, when we received the email from outgoing Councilman Beers late Thursday for this public meeting. With only 3 days' notice, we only have a handful of neighbors here. So we urge you to recommend holding the development agreement over to a later council meeting, as Brad is still coordinating a further meeting tomorrow with the developer, which right the day before this meeting. So with so much still in flux, we, and based on the confusion here today, surely the staff and council still need more time for review. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah, how do you pronounce the last name?
Deborah Kaner.
Kaner.
Could be my writing.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kaner. And then next we'll have Gordon Culp, Teresa Murphy, George Garcia has spoken, and Michael Buckley. Thank you.
So my neighbors on Ravel Court have consistently opposed the density proposed behind our house because we will face the dense condos rather than all the beautiful large estates in the other areas. Councilman Anthony, if you think you are confused today, you can imagine how the residents feel. We got notification, and only some of us got notification Thursday afternoon. I happened to be on Bob Beer's list, but not all of my neighbors are, so they didn't know about it, and it's not our job to inform them. We've appreciated Brad's help because we wouldn't have got this far without him. But I urge you to take the time in looking at the details of the plan, because you're going to be presented with it possibly tomorrow, but it affects our lives for the next 30 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gordon Culp, 653 Ravel Court. The process for review and approval of the development agreement is, in our opinion, fatally flawed. We've had 18 months of constantly changing plans. And just on June 9th, we got a totally new plan and a new development agreement. But that was just a few days ago. That's when it was distributed to Queens Ridge residents. The hearing on that agreement started just around midnight at the June 13th Planning Commission meeting. And the current version of the plan and the agreement are being shown to the general public for the first time. There were some amendments handed in, but we still haven't seen them. I don't know if you have. We haven't. And we have been in discussions, as has been referenced, with the developer about how we might resolve some of the devastating impacts of multi-story condos 75 feet from our properties. And there's still some new ideas, we understand, forthcoming from the developer that we're scheduled to hear about at 5 o'clock tomorrow. But we still don't know what those are. And finding a mutually acceptable density between our residents has been a real challenge. At the Planning Commission meeting, the HOA attorney submitted several comments and questions about the development agreement. Those ought to be resolved before you act on it. The vote was finally taken at about 2 in the morning, and obviously there was pretty minimal public involvement at that point. And even earlier in the Planning Commission meeting, an agenda item on about 300 and some apartments and condos in a different project near Alta and Rampart, near our project, had been moved to a separate special hearing. Yet our project with 2,100 units was not granted a separate hearing, but the hearing really ran from about midnight to 2 a.m., hardly a time to stimulate public opinion. Once approved by the Planning Commission, the development agreement was moved on to the June 21st council meeting.
2 minutes.
And all other items were moved to the July council meetings. So let me just echo our desire of my neighbors to have this deferred until we get the details worked out. What exactly is in the development plan?
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Terry Murphy, 1930 Village Center Circle. Here representing Frank and Jill Fertitta Trust. We have not been contacted by a representative of the developer or the city since August of 2016, when we expressed our concerns, our serious concerns about flood control, the building of a wall behind the house, and water coming directly at it. We had those concerns and they were not addressed. In addition to Councilman Beers having sent out an email to neighbors to come here, the attorney for the HOA left and received a call from the city attorney saying, we're not going to hear this item today. So the neighbors who would have come down are not here. And then finally, I just want to quote from the minutes of the July 12th Planning Commission meeting, where Mr. Jerbick stated, because RPD stands for Residential Planned Development, the reason is you have to be compatible with surrounding land uses. So as I've opined before, in my opinion, that if an individual were to come forward with RPD 7 and ask for 7.5 units per acre next to 1 acre parcels, half-acre parcels, quarter-acre parcels, the planning department would never recommend approval of that because it's not harmonious and compatible. The law requires that a development agreement be compatible with the master plan, which is parks, recreation, and open space. We do not believe that it is. And you're not putting 7 units per acre next to 1 acre homes or half-acre homes. Your development agreement contemplates in excess of 35 units per acre next to those kinds of homes. That's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing. As other people have stated, this is not ready to be heard, and we would request a minimum of 30 days or more.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Councilman Michael Buckley, representing the Frank and Jill Fertitta Trust. This development agreement, the procedures here are not normal. The development agreement by statute needs to be found to be compatible with the general plan. There's no general plan amendment that goes with this. There's no major modification, as Mr. Schreck pointed out. Although there's reference to there's been statements that this development agreement's been negotiated for many, many months, the fact is That was last year. We all focused on that development agreement last year. We all put it off to the side. The current development agreement is, the first draft is dated May 25th. That's the last one that I've had a chance to review. The development agreement contemplates that the city will cooperate and assist the developer to get the general plan amendment that he needs. One of the more interesting takes at the Planning Commission was that one of the planning commissioners asked the staff and the developer, why is this a 30-year development agreement instead of a 20-year, which is typical? Nobody could answer that. Perhaps most importantly, a development agreement is a contract. All of what is the city getting? Whatever the city is getting is a promise. What this development agreement, whatever the developer is promising, is within his discretion. It's as the market demands, in his sole discretion. That is not a promise. That's what is called an illusory promise. That's not a contract. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jerry Engel. I live at 700 Pontchartrain Drive. My home is the last home that ties right into Revel Court. The gentleman who represented EHB earlier, and you told him that thank you, but didn't listen to his plan, but he did use the words compatible. I heard it 6 or 7 times, compatible, compatible, compatible. Gentlemen, I invite all of you to come to my home, come to my backyard, look at my present view, and maybe 180 of the 250 acres that are being proposed are compatible because they're single-family homes. They are spacious, 2 acres. Many of them will be 2 acres with lots of green belts. Yes, that's compatible. But when you come to my home and you go to the homes on Revel Court, there's a corridor of 70 acres, which he didn't identify. And on that 70 acres, which runs from Revel Court, my home, all the way down to Tivoli Village, the developer proposes to put, it was 3,000 units, now he has decreased it to 2,000 units. Well, gentlemen, that TV screen there, to that TV screen there, is over 100 feet. And the developer proposes to put 2,000 high-density units about 100 feet away from my home, and I'll be looking at a wall that's 40 or 50 feet high. That is not compatible. Gentlemen, the high density proposed has got to be taken out of areas 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have, you said you deferred your time.
Well, I deferred my testimony to this time. Doug Rankin, 1055 Whitney Ranch Road. First, I want to do one clarification. The development agreement has a master development plan in it. It's not part of the city's general plan. It's part of this development agreement. So that is different, and I wanted to clarify that it's the plan that the developer's putting forward on how their development's going to proceed. I just want to assure that we have an opportunity to speak at a public hearing on Wednesday to provide additional presentation, and I'd like to defer the rest of my presentation regarding the general plan and its origins and history, because there was some confusion. I understand at Planning Commission, Mr. Jerbick indicated that there weren't any documents that solidified this as park recreational open space, and there are multiple documents that did so throughout time, and I want to present that and reserve my rights to present that as a public hearing. Just wanted to confirm that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair observation. I think that on Wednesday, whether this council adopts it or doesn't adopt it or holds it in abeyance for that matter, I think everybody needs to have an opportunity, and I will urge the mayor to give you an opportunity, Mr. Rankin, and anybody else who wants to make whatever record people need to make regarding the development agreement.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Johan Lowy. You?
Good afternoon, committee. Johan Lowy, 9409 Kingsgate Court, neighboring Queensridge. Thank you for the time you're spending on this item. I know how hard most of you worked relentlessly on this project for the last 2 years. It has been 2 years now. And as you know, we are now with a development agreement in front of you after excruciating process that has not been changed greatly in the last 18 months since we proposed a development agreement based on the request of the council and council members and the mayor that they want to see a comprehensive plan for the entire 250 acres. Now we are down to the wire with the same development agreement, with changes into the development agreement that reduce densities, that provide more buffer, and listen to homeowners' concern, deduct the property behind Ravel Court, 25 feet down, install the one-story basement only, and 4 stories on top of that. So what they see from their house, if we had no landscaping, is 2 stories, not picture that you've seen or you will see at City Council. With that property is destined to be developed, and we have no interest to continue talking about development agreement for the next year and the year after and figure out what is good for everybody. We have 3 different companies that own the property, and we would like you to either approve move forward with development agreement or allow us to develop the property under its current zoning and allow us to move forward with our land rights, the RPD 7 zoning district. And if we need to have these every couple months, we have the plans for the entire project design on the RPD 7. If we have to file it, we will file it next. But we are asking not to hold this item and not to obey it and not to refuse it. I think it's the best solution possible for all the homeowners because they will know what's going to be built for the next 20 years. By the way, people ask why it's 30 years. 30 years has nothing to do with us. That's a demand by the city that we're not going to be left with zoning after 20 years. Okay. That conclude. I have a whole lot more to put in to explain the history of the property if you wish.
Well, the thing of it is that depending on what comes out of the meeting here today, it'll be brought before the council on Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to be heard on this item? Seeing none, public comment is closed.
If I could jump in real quick before
Brett,
you
if
move
you will.
on. Let me just state that before the meeting today, I met with Russell Rowe, representative of Boyd Gaming, who had some additional language regarding traffic, specifically traffic at the corner of Clubhouse Drive in Alta. But he has a proposed amendment to Section 5.03 of the development agreement. I provided a copy to the clerk, and I wanted to represent on the record that this will be incorporated into the final version of the agreement that will be presented to the council on Wednesday. Having said that, we will be providing full briefings on all of this all day tomorrow. And again, it'll be council's decision on Wednesday. If I can answer any questions today, I'll be happy to.
Thank you, Mr. Jerby. I'll turn the time now over to Councilman Anthony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess the interesting thing is when I was talking to Brad is it doesn't really matter what we do today. This is agendized for Wednesday, and the full council is going to hear it, so we technically can't obey anything. We're just recommending an abeyance, but each city council person is going to make their own decision based on the presentation that is done on Wednesday, right?
Correct.
So I just want everybody to be clear on that. Even if we voted to obey it 3-0, it still gets heard on Wednesday, right?
That's correct. Your recommendation to obey would be heard on Wednesday.
Right. And the recommendation could be approved or denied, or something else can come out of it.
They could follow it or not.
Okay.
Okay, Councilman Coffin.
I don't have anything further to add.
Nothing further to add?
Nothing further to add.
Okay, then my motion would be that we move this item to the full body of the City Council to be heard on June 21st, 2017. That'll be my motion at this time. With no recommendation coming out of recommending. That is my motion. There's a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So move. We'll see you all June 21st, 2017. Okay, we're now down to public comment. Anyone wishing to speak? I'm not sure if it's time certain, but anyone wishing to speak on the citizens' participation, public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the committee. No subject may be acted upon by the committee unless that subject is on the agenda. Anyone wishing to come and speak at this time? Okay, so we do have some young people here that have been following this meeting And so I'll ask that each one of you please come forward. Come forward. Take a microphone real quick. They're here, a part of their government day. We have 3 individuals here from Mississippi and 2 local young people. So if you'll please just state your name for the record, starting with you to the right, and state the school you attend and what is it that you've learned in a nutshell here today. Your name for the record?
My name's Devin, and I go to St. Andrews in Mississippi, and I've just learned about different council stuff.
Okay.
My name is David Cattle. I'm from Mississippi. I attend St. Andrews Episcopal School, and I learned that it's not always clear-cut.
All right.
I'm Tamaya Barlow, and I learned that a lot of people have like different opinions and stuff.
Hi, I'm Zion Bryce, and I attend the Delta Academy, and today I learned that your jobs are not that easy and that you guys have to hear everyone out.
Hi, my name is Lasias Cattle. I attend the University of Mississippi, and I've learned that this can be a very long process. It takes patience, understanding, and compromise at times, but in the end, you get the job done.
Thank you also very much for being here. Thank you. Okay. Good job, so guys. That concludes the recommending meeting, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. There's a motion on the floor to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Aye. So move. Thank you.